$2.2 billion in investments to overhaul Nigeria's power sector. The policy outlines a sweeping reform agenda for the electricity sector, aligning with national development goals and global best practices, as required by Section 33 of the Revised Electricity Act 2023. Joining us later on this show to discuss the National Integrated Electricity Policy, ways to boost power generation and stabilize the power sector, is Naji. Professor Naji is the founder and chairman of Geometric Power Limited and a former Minister of Power in Nigeria. Also, we shall be engaging Ruki Onoro, convener Delta Broadcast Media Conference. We'll be discussing the forthcoming event by the Delta Broadcast Media Organization in conjunction with the Ministry of Information, putting together a conference to discuss a pathway to unlocking Delta State's possibilities.
Then we will have Arise correspondent Judita Da Silva, as the Roman Catholic Church now has a new spiritual leader, as Cardinal Robert Prevost of the United States was yesterday selected as the next pope, the first American pontiff in history. He will be known as Pope Leo XIV.
Let's catch up on news making headlines across the globe. Adefemi Akisona brings us updates on the foreign scene. We review today's newspaper headlines across the globe. Rod Sodiri gives us global business updates. Aaron Akirjala takes us through sports. And Ojiok, where will fill us in on what's trending around the world and our feel-good inspiring stories. It's going to be all that and a whole lot more today on The Morning Show.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Now it's time to take a look at news stories making headlines around the globe. And of course, in the biggest story, global story today, in a historic shift for the Catholic Church, Cardinal Robert Prevost of the United States was yesterday selected as the new pope, the first American pontiff in history. He will be known as Pope Leo XIV. In his first remarks as Pope from the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica, Prevost, a 69-year-old from Chicago, called for peace and paid tribute to the late Pope Francis to a roaring crowd. President Bola Tinubu offered his warmest felicitations to His Holiness Leo XIV on his election as the Bishop of Rome and the new leader of the Roman Catholic Church. The president, in a statement issued by his advisor on information and strategy, Bayo Onanuga, also congratulated the conclave for electing the American as the 267th Bishop of Rome. President Tinubu rejoiced with the leadership and congregants of the Catholic Church in Nigeria on the historic election of the new pontiff, whose message of faith and hope, he said, already resonates across the globe with a reassurance from the scriptures of a more peaceful world. Well, now closer to home, the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, yesterday officially reacted to news making the rounds about Nigeria's indebtedness to the multilateral institution and confirmed that the West African country has indeed fully repaid the $3.4 billion emergency loan it received in April 2020 under the Rapid Financing Instrument, RFI, extended to cushion the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic and a sharp drop in oil prices. However, the fund, in a statement by its resident representative in Nigeria, Dr. Christian Ebeke, pointed out that Nigeria was expected to honor some additional payments in the form of special drawing rights charges of about $30 million annually. The IMF had removed Nigeria from its list of debtor countries, according to a report titled Total IMF Credit Outstanding Movement from May 1st, 2025 to May 6th, 2025, obtained on the Multilateral Institutions website on Wednesday. Now, the Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Ali Pate, has been named by the Time 100 Health list of the world's most influential global health leaders 2025. The minister is among the list of the health list honoring leaders, innovators, advocates, and change makers whose work are transforming health systems, advancing medical science, and improving lives worldwide. Professor Pate's selection acknowledges his decades-long commitment to health equity, system reform, and primary healthcare advancement. Also named is Ladidi Bako Ayebusi, the Director of Nutrition Department, Federal Ministry of Health and Social Welfare, for her pioneering leadership in advancing national nutrition policy and driving systemic food and nutrition reforms. A very special congratulations to them. We saw Nigerians on the Time Influential People list. Now to see two Nigerians on the health list as well just shows that the fabric of what Nigerians made of is winning. It's a winning fabric.
It's so strong. I'm so proud to be a Nigerian. It runs in my vein every time. It's a love affair. I get passionate about it. I love it. You know when you love it the most is when you leave this country and you're coming back home and the plane is about to touch down and you see the green grass of home. You can just hold that specter of a moment in your heart forever. God, I thank you for making me a Nigerian, and it's a privilege. And that's why I keep on speaking for its greatness, because I know innately in this country is a power of greatness that is unprecedented, has never been seen before. And I know we'll get there. The road might be long, the journey might look like it's going to tarry, but I will never, ever relent on this love I have for my country. Today, we celebrate Ali Pate. He's done a lot from the days in Gavi. And guess what? With the work he's done in Gavi, don't also forget that in Nigeria used to be a chair on the Gavi board. That's Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala before she went to WTO. So it just shows the great, sense of duty, the understanding of duty Nigerians have. And he's now running the healthcare system in Nigeria. He's made some strides. We can only hope he will do more. And we can only hope that we're able to provide health that will cater to the very barest minimum in our society. So we celebrate this recognition in the healthcare sector. We're never in doubt. And constantly, we've had many pioneers in the healthcare sector, the likes of Professor Adeoye, Lambo of this world, that have held higher position in the healthcare industry across the world. Today, we would also talk about the Pope. Somebody was making a joke the other day, once the Pope was elected, that we didn't hear of ballot block snatching in the Papal election. We didn't hear of anything of some sort. We didn't hear that people say, oh, we disagree. Once they saw the white smoke, we had, Robert Prevost and Cardinal Prevost. He's firm. There's a tweet yesterday that says he had criticized J.B. Vance in the past that says Christians do not rank the kind of love you have. So definitely it's going to go on loggerheads also with the top political leaders in America when they don't do right. Just like Bergoglio was not always in great terms with the Argentine president. And it's only fine. He's chosen the name Leo XIV. Pope Leo XIII was a social crusader, fought for the poor, died in 1903. Was about Pope from 1887 to about 1903. He's going to go in that stead. He's a moderate. He's going to bring both parts together. And the church is evolving. Do you know that when Pope John Paul became the Pope, he was the first non-Italian Pope in over 400 years in the church in 1978. Since then, we've had all non-Italian popes. So he is coming to bridge a gap between the moderates and the conservatives, the two arms of the church. Also, another very interesting thing about him, he's in that sweet spot. I call it that sweet age. Because you're sure if anything doesn't happen to him, he can live another 20 years in the papacy. John Paul was about 68 when he became Pope, and he died in the early 2000s. He is about 69 years of age. So he's in that very sweet spot, and he'll be able to channel all his resources to the papacy. Mathematician, knows about the internal workings of Vatican politics. And there's so much to come. So, Habemus Papam, we have a Pope, we have a leader. May his reign, bring unity to the church, like he said, is an inaugural statement. As regards IMF, I think Vimba Amin we were spot on. You were bang on yesterday when you said, yes, we have paid all the legacy debt, but we still have, special drawing rights interest payments that we need to pay for a while. And this is about 36 million too. But kudos to the government as regards the payment of the legacy debt in the first place.
Okay, yesterday, I praised the Tinubu government for having paid off our debt to the IMF. Now, there are two levels of debt. There's the legacy account, legacy debt. There's the current account. It's very simple. There's no need to just split hairs over this. Now, the Tinubu administration has been able to pay the money we borrowed in 2020 with regard to COVID-19 and the sharp drop in oil prices. The government has cleared that debt. The principle, when you borrow, you pay back. And for this government to have been able to do that, as I said yesterday, is an achievement. Now, what is called special drawing rights? They pay annual charges. The simple common sense meaning of it is that for you to draw more money under the special drawing rights, you must pay the charges. And that's what the IMF is saying, that Nigeria has not paid the charges for this year. As at April, $30 million will still have to be paid so that, we can be in a good place and draw more money. That's just it. And then, of course, the same IMF had issued, through the Article 4 consultation, statement saying that, look, the Tinubu administration has been able to stabilize the economy, but that there are uncertainties. And these uncertainties, we all know what it means. The global uncertainty, which could be headwinds in terms of economic planning. There's no other way to look at this, in my view. Any other thing will sound funny. Now, the next thing, the Pope. Yes, we now have a Pope. Now, Dr. Prevost is the first American Pope, is the first Pope from the Americas, and is the second Pope from Latin America. 2, he's a moderate, a balancing between progressives and the conservatives. But the main task that he has is to continue with the reform of the late Pope, Pope Francis, who died on April 21, and also, of course, to address those issues about the future of the church. When he appeared at the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica yesterday, it was instructive that he talked about peace and that he talked about the unity of the church. What may have recommended him to the cardinals, because he has emerged as a dark horse, all the people who were mentioned as likely popes, they were not the ones that made it. He speaks about 5 languages: French, Spanish, English, Italian, Portuguese. And he also has a working knowledge of Latin and German, which means that we have a Pope who can connect with so many communities in the world, even on the basis of his linguistic dexterity. And he's also a Pope that has connections with Latin America. And that was why they were celebrating in Latin America yesterday. He worked in Peru for about 20 years and was a bishop in Peru in a place called Cavallo. I don't know whether I got the pronunciation right. He was also cardinal in Santa Monica. It was from Santa Monica that he was made a cardinal in 2023 by Pope Francis. So there was also jubilation in the United States. And I also imagine that there is also jubilation in Nigeria. He visits Nigeria very regularly, and he was in Nigeria as recently as 2016 at the Papal ground, that's St. John Paul the second parish in Kubwa, Abuja. So he has a strong Nigerian connection, and his secretary, in fact, is a Nigerian. We hope that now he's a pope, that, His Holiness, will retain the services of that Nigerian, because we too, we are saying, we are part of this papacy. No, we are part of this papacy. One of us.
Our local.
Yeah, Father D, that's what he's called. He's his secretary. So please, Your Holiness, please retain our man from Plateau State. I think Father D is from Plateau State. But more importantly, finally, he's from the order of the Augustinian order, and he's the first pope from that order of St. Augustine. Finally, congratulations to Professor Ali Pate. When I was in government, yes, I knew him. He was a very decent man, and he's still a very decent man, a technocrat, a professional, who has had international experience and who came to serve his country, and one of those who have shown commitment to the Nigerian project. So no one should be surprised that he has been honored by Time Magazine. Time Magazine looks at reformers, innovators, creative people around the world and honors them on an annual basis. And then Mrs. Bako Ayebusi, right? That's the name, Ayebusi, Bako Ayebusi. She's been honored for the work that has been done in relation to nutrition policy in Nigeria. I think it's good news, not just for the individuals involved, but also for the Tinubu administration. We have always criticized this administration that they don't have standout personalities, but these are standout persons recognized on the world stage. Final comment on this is that Nigeria is being honored through these two individuals for achievement in the health sector. Now, that achievement will make meaning when it trickles down. UNICEF, as I said yesterday, says Nigeria has a lot of malnourished children, some of the biggest number of malnourished children in the world. Now we complain here that hospitals in Nigeria are not doing very well. Professor Pate is being honored for a decade-long achievement in the area of primary health care. Now we have issues with that primary health care. This recognition should translate into greater commitment to primary healthcare development generally, nutrition policy improvement in Nigeria. That is when we, the people of Nigeria, we say that, look, this is an achievement for all of us. Thank you.
Absolutely. I think still on that celebratory tone, especially speaking on issues of primary healthcare, it's commendable that Professor Ali Pate in just a year has been able to upgrade about 900 primary healthcare facilities. He's also run a campaign called Know Your Numbers, which allowed people in underserved areas to check their blood pressure, their sugar levels, all of the vitals that people may not have access to, that of course are a measure of one's wellness. So congratulations also to Dr. Ladidi Bako-Ayegbusi, who is the Director of Nutrition in the Federal Ministry of Health and Social Welfare. She excites me because what she has done is actually very revolutionary. So she took what we know as stock cubes or Maggi and has created a system where they can be reinforced with extra nutrients from some of the vitamins like B12, folic acid, zinc, so that they can be given to children, especially young children under the age of 5, in the preparation of meals. Because you realize that there's very few households in Nigeria that cook without their stock cubes. So she's now injected extra nutrition into some of these stock cubes so that she can, by doing so, be able to boost the nutrition of some of our young ones, which is so innovative. And I love that it's an African solution. It's a solution that speaks to how we relate, how we operate in our culture. And those are more of the solutions that we need. So it's always good when they come from us. So congratulations to them. Also, congratulations to the Tinubu administration as well as to Nigerians at large, because being able to write off $3.4 billion of debt is no small feat, especially in such a short period. It's a debt that they found on the books. It's not of their own creation. However, I think this is also an appeal where we say, can we see the same type of discipline? Can we see the same type of resilience? Can we see the same type of reform in addressing all of the other legacy debt that we have? At the beginning of this week, it was confirmed that we took about $600 million from China Exim Bank. This is to add to a number of other debts that we already have. So as much as, yes, it's notable that we celebrate one that has been cleared, we're still piling more up. And it's very important for us to exercise fiscal discipline and orientate ourselves away from a culture of borrowing and from a culture that is innovative in how we raise capital and how we raise revenue to fund our budgets and our various projects. And very lastly, I know we'll spend more time discussing the Pope a little bit later on, but most of the salient points have already been made. Pope Leo XIV, who is of the Augustinian order, so as much as he's known as a moderate or a centrist, the Augustinian order is very much about going back to the gospel. It's very much about following the gospel closely. In the past, he has made comments around some of the controversial issues that the church faces, homosexuality, gender identity, and so forth. And he has always toed the line that one should reference what is said in the gospel when managing these issues. Similar to Pope Francis, he also doesn't feel that women should be allowed to be ordained, but he also believes strongly in advocating for migrants. So a lot to be unpacked about Pope Leo XIV, and that will happen as the show progresses. Well, it's now time for a short break on the morning show. When we return, we'll have Adefemi Akinsonya join us for the World Brief and review top stories in today's newspapers.
You didn't get it right.
Thinking of banking in Africa? Think Zenith. In today's fast-moving, fast-changing world, you need a financial partner that understands your unique expectations. A bank with presence in major financial centers across the world, with the enabling platform to facilitate seamlessly, whenever, wherever, however. A bank with best-in-class financial solutions from a superb combination of technology and human touch for easy, fast, and secure banking that creates real value. Turning dreams into reality is now in your hands. People, technology, service. Zenith Bank, in your best interest.
How far, Niger? Welcome to the Glow Cafe app. Come in. Because it's time for an upgrade. Your own personal Glow Cafe app open 24/7. Welcome to bigger, better, smarter. Welcome to total control of your data, your airtime. Mom, I'll call you back. How you buy? I'll send you data. How you share and how you recharge. Movies, gaming, music. All in one place. Welcome to more value. Download the upgraded Glow Cafe app and get more data. Get 100% recharge bonus and get a massive 100 gigabytes data bonus when you register. Want it all? Download all this into this.
Unlimited. Taking your business into the future will require a bank that supports you. That's why you need a partner delivering solutions tailored to you and your customers. With First Online, you can enjoy a seamless banking experience and a continually evolving financial platform to reach for even bigger dreams. Let's take giant strides into the future together. You first, First Bank.
Sweeter.
What are we looking at?
Thank you guys for joining us for this unforgettable night.
Everything is fine.
Paw Patrol is on a roll.
It's Max Verstappen in the lead. The megastar is here.
Absolutely sensational.
Let's go!
What are you guys doing to us?
Get unbelievable entertainment that is unbelievably easy to own. Get and stay connected to DSTV.
Africa is rich in resources, in opportunity, in potential. Beneath our soil lies our strength. This May, the world converges in Abuja to shape the future of Africa's resource landscape. Join industry leaders, investors, and policymakers at the inaugural Africa Raw Materials Summit 2025. 3 days of insightful deliberations, innovative conversations, and investments that will redefine Africa's economic future. Don't just attend, be part of the change at the Africa Raw Materials Summit from May 20th to 22nd, 2025 at Abuja Continental Hotel, Abuja, Nigeria. Interested attendees should register on the summit website at www.africarawmaterialsummit.rmrdc.gov.ng or contact Chinaza Mary for registration details through the phone number displayed on your TV screen.
Hear that? It's the roar of the crowd, the pulse of champions, the sound of history being made. Ogun State is ready to host the biggest sporting event of the year, the 22nd National Sports Festival, Gateway Games Ogun 2024. From May 16th to 30th, 2025, the nation's finest athletes will gather at the MKO Abiola Stadium, Abeokuta, and other sports centers in Ogun State. 33 sports, 36 states, and the FCT. One goal: to rise, to compete, to win. The world is watching. This is our moment, our time to shine. The stage is set. Gateway Games Ogun 2024, a celebration of sports, unity, and culture. Host, His Excellency Governor Dapo Abiodun. Ìgbéga ìpínlẹ̀ Ògùn, àjọṣe gbogbo wa ni.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Joining us now for World Brief and the review of some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is Adefemi Akinsanya. Good morning, Adefemi.
Good morning, Dr. Rubin. Good morning, Bimbai. Good morning, Rufai. How are we doing?
Abemos Papa.
Do you know what? It was Dr. Rubin that actually broke the news to me. I was at the gym, finished my workout, picked up my phone, and I saw the words, tell me.
Abemos Papa.
We have a pope. Oh, okay. So let me tell you what's happening around the world. Habemus, as Dr. Rubin said, Habemus Papa. We have a pope. There was white smoke, so we have a pope. 69-year-old U.S. Cardinal Robert Francis Provost has been elected as Pope Leo XIV, prompting celebration and delight among the more than 100,000 pilgrims and tourists that gathered in St. Peter's Square. Now, the eagerly anticipated white smoke did billow out of the chapel's chimney as the world's faithful awaited the unveiling of the new pope, whose message prayed for peace and for God to be with us all. He now becomes the 267th occupant of the throne of St. Peter's. Pope Leo is a moderate. We actually just said he's moderate to some people, cardinal who was given senior roles by Pope Francis and has significant missionary experience in Peru, having served as bishop of the northern city of Chiclayo. He was also the first American, of course, to fill the role of Pope, although he is considered as much a cardinal from Latin America because of the many years he did spend as a missionary in Peru before he became an archbishop there. He was, of course, born in Chicago in 1955 and did serve as an altar boy and was ordained as a priest in 1982. Now, although he did move to Peru 3 years later, he continued to return to the United States to serve as a pastor and a prior in his home city.
though he does have Peruvian nationality, so he's a dual national, so the Peruvians can definitely claim him. And he is fondly remembered as a figure who worked with marginalized communities and helped build bridges across those local churches. Now, world leaders, including President Tinubu, have congratulated the new Pope, especially to Vice President J.D. Vance, who actually converted to Catholicism as an adult and met Pope Leo's predecessor, Pope Francis, on Easter Sunday, the day before the late Pope died. Now, Pope Leo is considered a centrist, which marks a departure from his predecessor. Now, in terms of the LGBTQ plus community, the Catholic community therein, in 2024, he did say that more discussions were needed to discuss how blessings should be applied to that community. But when we're looking at women, he does fall in line with Pope Francis's stance on women, standing against the ordainment of women, which is a reason why we did see protests earlier on this week. That being said, a huge welcome to the new Pope. I know many people are very, very happy, but we will discuss that a bit further. Now, Microsoft founder Bill Gates says that he intends to give away 99% of his vast fortune over the next 20 years. Gates said that he would accelerate his giving via his foundation with plans to end its operations in 2045. Now, in a blog post released on Thursday, he said that people will say a lot of things about me when I die, but he says that he is determined that him dying rich will not be one of the things that people will say. Now, 69-year-old Gates said that his foundation has already given $100 billion towards health and development projects, and that he expects it will spend another $200 billion, depending on markets and inflation over the next 20 years. And finally, the United States has announced that it is cutting $50 million worth of aid to Zambia's health sector due to the country's failure to address the systematic theft of donated drugs and medical supplies. Now, the US, this is the ambassador to Zambia there, said that it reached this decision after repeated warnings to the Zambian government to safeguard vital drugs meant for the country's most vulnerable patients. That's according to US Ambassador to Zambia, Michael Gonzalez, who went on to say that the US is no longer willing to underwrite the personal enrichment of fraudsters or the corrupt when patients go without or have to buy life-saving medications that we have provided for free. Now, the Zambian government has responded and has accepted that there is corruption in the procurement and the movement of medicine in the country, but did have these strong words to say. Let's take a listen.
What has done is in accordance with the work we asked them to do. The preliminary report, the final report will come in December. And in December, we will sit again to now agree what sanctions need to be taken. I must alert you as citizens that the health sector has been dogged with problems for probably 20 years. And we are committed to rooting out those problems. But we can't do it by a thumbsuck. We have to pin down where the problems are. Right? Who is taking drugs? How is it that drugs leave a health process system, end up in private pharmacies, some of which are owned by people working in the same health sector? We have now established where the problem is. And when we come to you for your support, we will lay the report on the table that this is what's been going on, and these are the actions we are taking. And we are determined, if we have to remove 100 people, so it will be.
Strong words there from President Hichilema. It would be very interesting to hear your thoughts before we move on to the papers.
Okay. So the truth is, yes, there's a problem with Zambia. Yes, drugs and everything, being siphoned, and we don't like it. And it's a pervasive problem, across many parts of the world and development society. But the solution by USAID to stop it, no, that's not the way forward. Because those people still need that drug, and you cannot punish those people because the government does not show accountability. I mean, I have been part of project where people had donated items to some people, and we saw how they siphoned the items. But it doesn't make you stop that work. So how can we look for better forms of intervention still into Zambia? And that's what Hichilema has been talking about. That yet they will try as much as possible to fix the problem. And that ties around to the Bill Gates story, because Bill Gates was also saying that, in as much as I'm going to do everything I can with the, the Gates Foundation now, because Bill and Melinda Gates, the splitted parts. Yes. The Gates Foundation now. But I can't do it all. He's put over $75 billion into this foundation over these years. Sunset Clause 2045, another $200 billion in his lifetime. Is worth a little over $100 billion as we speak today, with his Microsoft earnings and all of that. But the truth is, he says I can't do it alone. You still need a lot of that USAID funding, because why? The American government that puts the budget out for this development, they have a bigger purse to be able to accommodate it. America takes over 4.5 or 5 trillion in tax returns every year. Probably if you have a budget, knock it about 6 trillion thereabout.
Yeah.
At least you can still continue to give about 20 billion, for things like this. And that's why if you see the money they have pumped in PEPFAR, it's really helped a lot. So the American government, and we look forward to a day where things will stabilize again and America will be able to, help the world. But the truth is, us in the African continent, we cannot continue this way too. We can't keep depending on the magnanimity of rich nations. So we need to also look inward. But I think what Bill Gates said should be an indication for the very rich or those that steal money in this country and accumulate a lot of wealth. You can see at some point the richest man in the world saying that, I know I can't carry this money to heaven. So let me share it while I'm on earth. All the great resources of wealth God has given him. And the money also includes the money, over 10 million of shares of Hartwell Berkshire, Warren Buffett also gave to the Gates Foundation, for humanitarian services and things like that.
That's true philanthropy.
So that's true philanthropy. And they all signed up something called the Giving Pledge.
Yes.
Where they said over 50% of their wealth will be given back while they are alive. In fact, Mark Zuckerberg now, that is now second world richest man, also signed up to that pledge also. So it shows you, for those, those that carry the world on their chests,
we have to.
Please remember, you're not taking this money everywhere. Use it to impact humanity and make life better for a lot of people.
Agreed. Thanks, Prof.
All right. I'll do just one, maybe 2 quick sentences. I really want to comment on the newspapers today.
Yes.
Zambia, of course, which is our little sister in the Southern African region. For me, this highlights the challenge that faces these opposition parties that come into power on the popular vote with the narrative that, we're going to counter the corruption that the incumbent, the ruling party was doing and so forth. And how it's so much harder in principle than it is in theory, because this theft, of the medical equipment, dates back to pre-2021 under Edgar Lungu. Now, what are they saying? They're saying that some people are before the courts. They've suspended some directors as well. But the Americans are saying it's not enough. We want to see high-level heads rolling, which is also, a little bit unfair. So 50 million out of the 128 million that Zambia gets from the US in support for medical care is very unfortunate. They said they'll only stop January 2026 so that the Zambian government can have time to work through it.
Right.
But this is the legacy that happens in the civil service, the corruption that's embedded in the civil service that's bigger than politics.
Okay, on Zambia, what is wrong with us in Africa? Yes, you may criticize President Trump, saying he's cutting aid, and that is affecting developing countries of the world and all that. But in the specific case of Zambia, we are told that the US Embassy in Zambia, in Lusaka, have been investigating this situation for a whole year. And they just discovered that the drugs that are sent in terms of support, the US supplies about 2/3 of the pharmaceuticals that they get in Zambia. Others come from the Global Fund and maybe procurement by the state. They said these things are sold in public pharmacies. And that is what the US is saying, that we cannot allow this. So we will stop sending drugs. It's about corruption. The Zambian government says, we will tackle the issue. We will deal with it. But they've not been able to do it. It's not difficult to go and investigate and find out things that have been given free for the benefit of citizens are being sold
for profit,
Yeah, and that's why they are complaining that the US cannot fund fraudsters and people just want to make a quick profit. And I think that is instructive and it should be a message for other African leaders. So we may criticize Trump, but this one,
agreed.
We have nothing else to say.
Okay.
As for Bill Gates, the major thing that he's saying, he has contributed over $100 billion to support healthcare, measles, children, health development in many countries, and that's commendable. And he's saying in the next 20, 25 years, he will give away 99% of his fortune away. Now, even if he gives that away, he will still be a billionaire, right?
Yes.
So, and his children will not suffer, according to him. But the major point that he made for me was his quoting an 1889 essay by Andrew Carnegie. Andrew Carnegie wrote The Gospel of Wealth. And quoting him, Bill Gates says, the duty of the rich is to give back to the society.
Correct.
In other words, about philanthropy.
Thank you,
And we have examples in Nigeria, Tony Elumelu, Femi Otedola, Aliko Dangote.
Absolutely.
We have many people who are also in that part. So Bill Gates represents a very great example. Finally, on the issue of the Pope, I've spoken at length this morning on the issue of the Pope. But the other part that I have not talked about is the fact that some people see the emergence of this Pope as if it is political. Because, you know, Trump went on, you know, Truth Social and posted an AI-generated, and he talked about a very good cardinal who is in New York, you know, and all of that. And then at the end of the day, it was an American Pope, the very first that emerged. So is this a case of America first? But we will never know because, you know, the conclave is a secretive process. And if anything comes out of that conclave, whoever reveals it as a cardinal is excommunicated, you know, from the church. That's the punishment. But we have a Pope who is a moderate, and we'll look forward to the future.
All righty. Let's move on to the newspapers. As ever, we begin with this day. This day does, of course, lead with the story of the Pope, the first American Pope, Robert Prof, being elected as Pope Francis' successor, becoming Pope Leo XIV. Also, the IMF has confirmed Nigeria has repaid its $3.4 billion loans. On the topic of insecurity, though, the New Telegraph has the Middle Belt Forum has broken its silence on these killings of unarmed people in Benue State, as it backed the earlier call from the former Chief of Army Staff, Danjuma, who urged Nigerians to resort to self-defense to curb this ongoing massacre of the people. To The Guardian, and it leads with Anambra Apka and Obi's kinsmen have endorsed President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for a second term. And to the Daily Independent, it does have Senate President Godswill Akpabio refusing to step down over accusations of sexual harassment that have been leveled against him. Very quickly to United Kingdom, let's take a look at the Daily Express. President Donald Trump and British Prime Minister Keir Starmer on Thursday did announce a limited bilateral trade agreement that leaves in place Trump's 10% tariffs on British exports, modestly expands agricultural access for both countries, but lowers prohibited US duties on British car exports. Now, the General Terms Agreement is the first of dozens of tariff-lowering deals that Trump expects to land in coming weeks after upending the global trading system with steep new import taxes even aimed at shrinking the $1.2 trillion US goods trade deficit.
Yeah, you got it in there.
We got that.
I mean, what else can we say? I think what is most important, I mean, for the couple of papers we have gone through today, and I'll just pick on the story I saw on one of the front pages of the National Daily, where he was pretty much talking about the Pope, and I think it was the front page of the This Day newspaper when it was talking about the emergence of the Pope. I think one thing that is also foundational that we must also know, apart from people of faith and the Pope and every conversation, is the fact that, see, the truth has to be said. Will these world leaders that are congratulating the Pope today listen to him when he talks about the migration crisis, migration ills? Because you see, these world leaders have a mind of their own.
Yeah.
I will never forget when Donald Trump started to abuse bishop of, and I remember the church because it's just close to White House. I saw it in DC.
Oh yes,
this
the
is
woman.
the woman,
her name.
just close to, when she was just saying that, please remember that we are all migrants one way or the other. Even the Donald Trump that says no to illegal immigration, no to migrants and things like that. The question is, where is he from? His family ran away from persecution in Karlstadt in Germany. So let's just be a little bit more compassionate to one another.
Agreed.
I'm not saying people cannot get things right. And that's why the Democrats had something called, the program, a safe way for people, the Dreamer program, where you came in as an illegal, but there's a pathway for your children to be able to come legal. That's just it. So please, we should all introspect as regards this and listen, because very soon, I know this Pope, he will start to speak about those plights. The Augustinian order, apart from being highly doctrinal, they also speak about causes of humanity.
Well, let's see. Thank you.
I'll quickly touch on Saludo the solution.
Yes.
Apuga PC. It's now Apuga PC.
I almost put the U inside. Remember to announce it properly.
Apuga PC. Well, quite an outing yesterday that we saw the president being hosted in Anambra State. Beautiful projects unveiled yesterday, but what stole the show, of course, was the show of solidarity between the two men. And it reminded me of when we had Valentine Ozibo here in the studio, and he was talking about this Soludo is working with APC and so forth. Well, it seems that there's a very warm, cordial relationship between the Governor Soludo and the APC. And it just leaves a lot to be desired, again, about the state of opposition politics here in Nigeria that we've been unpacking for so long, because it looks like everybody is falling in line, especially when you look at the South region, whether it be the South-South, now we're looking at Southeast as well. So unfortunately for us, when we're supposed to be focusing on governance right now, politics is fully on display. But I always say, at least if it's coming with projects, then we can celebrate it mildly.
Exactly. I'm good there.
Okay, very good. The Order of St. Augustine was established in 1244, and they follow what they call the rules of St. Augustine. Augustine of Hippo was the one who established, that particular order, and it's a mendicant order. So one thing we can be certain about is that this particular Pope, Leo XIV, is going to, support the poor. He's going to preach about justice. He's going to talk about unity, consistent with the rules of Augustine. And in the past, if you look at a review of his tweets, he has been talking about the right of immigrants, gun control in America. And on one occasion also, he had to rebuke J.D. Vance. But we'll see. The papacy has started. And we're just happy that the Catholic Church has found the Pope. Finally, about the deal, the UK trade deal. Now, we don't have all the details yet. President Trump himself said so. Keir Starmer is excited. He says we have established a long-term platform for relations with the US. But experts are saying it's actually a small win, But
nevertheless,
Britain was classified in the third category, but now, due to diplomacy, now the first country with which the Americans have been able to do a deal.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
We made it on Friday, didn't we?
We made it, TGIF. Thank you so much, Adefemi, for another incredible session. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we have Rota Sodiri to give us updates on global business activities. Do stay with us.
How far, Nigeria? Welcome to the Glow Cafe app. Come in. Because it's time for an upgrade. Your own personal Glow Cafe app open 24/7. Welcome to bigger, better, smarter. Welcome to total control of your data, your airtime. Mom, I'll call you back. How you buy? I'll send you data. How you share and how you recharge. Movies, gaming, music, all in one place. Welcome to more value. Download the upgraded Glow Cafe app and get more data. Get 100% recharge bonus and get a massive 100 gigabytes data bonus when you register. Want it all? Download all this into this. Unlimited.
It's time for the main event. This is incredible. He has written it, and the dream lives on. I cannot believe it. relaxing mood here. Hear the place in all its magnificence.
Stay connected to DDS TV this April and May and get all the football finals you want.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Now for global business updates, Rotus Udiri joins us. Good morning, Rotus.
Good morning, Dr. Abasi. Good morning, Vimbai. Good morning, Rufai. All our viewers out there. Begin, of course, with oil. We actually saw a pickup in oil. There's a lot of optimism around this Geneva talks that will be taking place tomorrow between Scott Bessent, U.S. Trade Representative, and the Chinese counterparts over de-escalations on trade tensions. So as you know, China is, massive country, uses a lot of oil. They're hoping that we get a reduction. So traders are placing their bets, if you will. So $63.19. I mean, this is still pretty low. West Texas is now at 60, and then of course that's your benchmark. Asian markets were a bit mixed. We got some China trade data for April. We're going to go through. The Shanghai index was actually down, perhaps because you saw a reduction in trade to the U.S. Hang Seng up. Japan up, Kospi down, India still down because of that, all these issues with Pakistan and so on, weighing on sentiment. Australia are up. So let's look at the data from China for April. Exports climbing by 8.1% year on year compared to April last year. The estimates were just 1.9%, so way more exports. Again, they're pushing out as much as they can. Imports fell, but not as much as expected. But look at that. U.S. exports in April fell by 21% year on year. In March, they were up by 9.1%. And the March exports expectations, the March exports to the U.S. were higher than expected because you saw a lot of front loading, right? And this tallies with the data of a lot of businesses in the U.S. importing a lot, and then that's, of course, impacting GDP. But look at ASEAN. The Association of Southeastern Asian Nations, 20.8% growth in exports. So China, I mean, you saw Xi Jinping traveling to Malaysia, traveling to Vietnam, and so on. Yeah, really, and even Dr. Abati even said it yesterday, that now, when Dr. Abati mentioned the partnership between India and the UK, saying that because of all the trouble with the US, they're now shifting to other places. Meanwhile, this framework, I'm not even calling it a trade deal. This thing anyway. So Trump even said that they're not even full details yet on this deal with the UK that he's been talking about. Meanwhile, again, it was something that I've been working. I said all this yesterday before the details even came out. Anyway, they're saying the 10% baseline tariffs still remain. So what was the deal? They're now saying steel and aluminum tariffs for the UK are reduced to 0. And apparently the UK can export up to a cap of about 100,000 cars at 10% tariff to the US. Well, there's a trade lawyer, Timothy Meyer. He's with Duke University School of Law, international trade lawyer. He says, from the point of view of markets generally, as well as those who are concerned about the US economy, this is a nothing burger. There's nothing really to see here. Obviously, this is a framework. This is not actually an agreement. Again, everybody's waiting to see what happens with China and those talks on Saturday. There was a artificial intelligence hearing in the Senate, chaired by Senator Ted Cruz of Texas. Sam Altman of OpenAI was there. The president of Microsoft, CoreWeave, and a number of others. I think about 4 of them total. But here is Ted Cruz talking about how the U.S. needs to do less. This is that Biden chip thing that Trump wants to overturn. He says less regulation, more innovation is what the U.S. needs for AI to lead.
To lead in AI, The United States cannot allow regulation, even the supposedly benign kind, to choke innovation or adoption. American dominance in AI depends on two factors: innovation and adoption. Innovation drives breakthroughs and global competitiveness. Adoption ensures that these tools empower American workers and businesses, enabling the United States to become the world's leading adopter and exporter of AI.
All right, obviously this is my favorite part of the segment. Sam Altman then spoke and talked about updates on ChatGPT. And then I will now present a demonstration using an IMF confirmation of Nigeria paying off its debts with ChatGPT. But let's take a listen to Sam Altman.
I was here about 2 years ago, and at that time, ChatGPT had recently launched. It was a curiosity in the world. People weren't sure what it was going to mean, what it was going to be used for. Today, we've made significant progress. ChatGPT is used by more than 500 million people a week. I just saw yesterday that according to SimilarWeb, it's now the 5th biggest website on the internet globally, growing very quickly. But most of all, it's being used in really important ways. It's significantly increasing productivity. We hear scientists say they're 2 or 3 times more productive than they could be before. We hear people that are getting medical advice or learning in ways they couldn't before. And it's really, it's no longer this thing that was going to come in the future, but it's here now, and people are really using it. We're very proud to be one of the leaders of this. We're very proud that America is leading in AI so significantly. And I think that's critical. What Senator Cruz said about the importance of innovation in America, and that we have what happened with the internet, we have happen again. I believe this will be at least as big as the internet, maybe bigger.
All right, so as we all know, Rufai asked yesterday, the IMF has confirmed that Nigeria indeed has paid off its obligations. Here's an email that they sent to Arise News, right? As of April 30th, 2025, Nigeria has fully repaid the financial support of 3.4 billion in requested and received April 2020 from the International Monetary Fund. Jump to the second paragraph. Nigeria is expected to honor some additional payments in the form of special drawing rights charges of about $30 million annually. In line with the IMF's Articles of Agreements, these charges levied at the SDR interest rate, which is updated at the beginning of each week, apply to the difference between Nigeria's SDR holdings, which is about 3,164 million converted to become 4.3 billion, and its cumulative SDR allocation, the net payment of which charges stops when Nigeria's SDR holdings reach the cumulative allocation amount. Does that sound confusing? Please pull up my ChatGPT request. So basically, I went and I said, please explain the paragraph below in plain English. And I put the full paragraph there for ChatGPT to explain. It says, here's a plain English explanation of the paragraph. And then it proceeds to break it down. Nigeria will need to pay about $30 million every year as a kind of interest fee to the IMF. These payments are tied to special drawings rights, which are international reserve assets. It then says, why is Nigeria paying? It gives the bullet points on why Nigeria is paying them. And then it now explains at the bottom, once Nigeria gets back to holding the full 5.5 billion, which is the initial allocation, less what Nigeria has used, then it pays off the interest. But it was in plain. I then asked it, can you provide a visual illustration in pictorial form? It then creates an image showing you the SDRs. SDRs, an international reserve asset created by the IMF. It has different visualizations. This is the most incredible innovation that we're seeing today. I hardly search on Google anymore. And I've said this thing, you can call me Pastor AI. I've preached this thing to academics. I've preached it to people in the legal field, medical field, asset managers, whoever you are out there. Just try using this thing. It really is revolutionary.
Rotus, I still go to many other sources, and there are many materials that you never.
Let me tell you the key here, just on the source, real quick. No. If you ask ChatGPT, again, that was explaining a complex language to break it down in simple English. If you ask it for information on something, also ask it, ChatGPT, what happened here, and give me the source, like the Chinese data now on trade. So just include the source with it.
We all appreciate the marvel of AI, but we also still contact other sources.
Yeah, of course, you have to
verify. Go to a good old library. I still stock a very good old library in my house where I keep a number of some titles that I know that some of the things in that titles will never be on
what you have to garbage in and use to train machine learning as information. And if ChatGPT was that excellent, probably we'll go and close down the Library of Congress tomorrow and other big libraries around the world and all of that. So you still need all of those libraries, rotos, and there are many resource materials and parchments of materials that those libraries are never, but we complement ChatGPT when it's doing its work.
It's amazing stuff.
Moving on to Ted Cruz. The truth has to be said. Yes, you want innovation for this AI race.
Yeah.
But also, you want to be circumspect and clear. And that's why I support what Joe Biden was doing, for national security purpose, those AI chip caps. And if you say, like the Republicans think, let's remove every form of regulation, we'll all go mad. So you need to be careful.
Yeah,
and what is going to drive innovation is also caution. It's also caution. And there is no way you can tell me about it. Wasn't it the Americans that was complaining all of a sudden that DeepSeek could quickly upturn them? Where did they get those proprietary from? Was it because of some level of hacking in and getting some information from data out of America and using it? If you don't put a caution buffer there and call people out and say, what you have actually done is wrong.
But remember, Altman was against it. The AI guys that were testifying, they were also against it as well. So
Ted Cruz should be careful. And if he doesn't know about something, he shouldn't expatiate more on it, please. Okay. There's also a great level of caution because, like, I think it's Superman that says, or Spider-Man that says, with great power comes great responsibility.
On that note, since we're in the mood of where we're celebrating Catholicism today, there is a word that originated. It's a Latin word, but it was popularized by the Catholic Church back in the day. It's called propagare, which means to propagate. And that is how we got the modern world called propaganda. Now, we have to be careful when we're reporting economic news, things that are backed by science and data, to paint the whole picture. It's not fair to people who are not economists, who don't understand how the IMF modalities work, to just tell them that we've paid legacy debt. It's misleading. Yes. So I think we just need to be sure that when we report, because it's a victory, but now guess what? You've now taken away from the victory because you didn't give the full picture.
Yeah.
It actually.
What, you mean the interest payments?
I'm talking about the interest payment because it
was.
No,
she's talking to the government.
I'm just talking about the fact that it's reported that we've cleared all of our debts. No, we haven't. We've cleared the principal debt, which is an achievement. 3.4 billion in 2 years is not beans.
Yeah.
But my point is that you now left out the rest of the story, and it now creates a trust deficit because now whenever you release information, we feel there's a need to do extra research to verify the information.
Okay.
Because I went onto the IMF website the day before yesterday. So yesterday on this show, we shared this exact information that IMF is now confirming. It was there, it was available on the website.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm just saying that let's be careful in how we disseminate, especially economic information, to those who may not have the skill set, just the common man who has time to go to IMF website and start looking at outstanding debt. What's the meaning of SDR? And nobody does.
Yeah.
We've paid 3.4 billion. We're still going to pay our interest, but this is a win. Great communication.
For you to sustain drawing rights, you will pay annual charges.
Indeed.
So don't frame it in a voodoo manner. But I want to make the point. I want to make the point about the fact that this administration has managed to pay off debt.
That is it.
Even at the state level, many of the states that were heavily indebted have been able to pay. I'll give you the figures. Jigawa State has paid 96.92% of its debt. Ondo State has paid 82.61%. Ebonyi State has paid 76.21%. Kaduna State has paid 70.48%. Ekiti State 53.17%, and so on and so forth. I have the chart here.
Yeah.
However, what is the point that I'm making? Now let's talk about these states. They've been able to do this because of the financial engineering that the Tinubu administration has been able to do, and because they got more money.
Yes.
From removal of subsidies.
Yes.
That is not the point. The point is about the quality of money.
Yes. Okay.
These states, they've received more money, right? And what have they done with it? Have they used the money to buy exotic vehicles?
Yes.
to increase their convoys or travel, to send their wives on more extravagant trips abroad.
The debts now.
No, they pay the debt.
Yes.
But they're getting more money. What are they doing with it?
Yes.
So that, I think, is what is important.
True. Yes, Doctor. I agree with you.
But to the fact that the government has been able to pay debts at both the national and subnational level, that's an achievement.
Indeed.
It will be illiterate to argue against that.
Yes.
Now, you didn't mention Bank of England.
Okay, the great
Yesterday, they cut rates from 4.5% to 4.25%. But despite that, Andrew Bailey is saying that, look, there's still a lot of uncertainty ahead. And the reason they've cut rates is that, inflation was 2.8% in February, but it came down to, 2.6% in April. As for the UK-US deal, Trump himself says, we will get the details within a month.
Why did he make noise?
Starmer says the negotiations
are ongoing.
Yeah, that's what he said. Experts say it's a small win on whatever side. That's the story.
Yeah, indeed.
Okay.
We'll take
Quickly before we go. So the SDR, okay, fine.
Oh,
it's
my
not.
goodness.
Let me state that point.
It's not debt. It's money that will be paid.
Yes.
But it's not. That I think I did make that separation.
Yes.
That there's the debt, the 3.4 billion, and then there's money that is still to be paid, the interest charges, which is the SDR. It's still money to be paid. Annual.
Let's go to break. I'm done. The segment is over. See you Monday.
And when we return, we'll be talking to Professor Naji, founder and chairman of Geometric Power Limited and a former minister of power in Nigeria. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
We don't like to eat better, more nutritious meals, more veggies, but we want it tasty and easy too. No cubes. That's the secret. Made with real ingredients like chicken, parsley, and garlic, and enriched with iron, so your meals are better for you and more delicious too. That's the cocoa. Let's give it some accolades. Change your world by changing what's on your plate. At a time when payments were a puzzle, with no one having what it took to piece it together, there arose a need for a game changer. One unlike any other that could pioneer e-payment solutions, enabling transactions between buyers and sellers, like making payments online or with just phone number, plus a game-changing, reliable multi-bank app platform. So, if you're still wondering how it all started, look no further. It starts here.
Unified Payments, unifying businesses for people.
At Nile Online, your journey to excellence begins. Bridging the gap between traditional and digital classrooms, Nile Online brings the Nile University experience to you. Interactive learning at your fingertips. Discuss, debate, and grow with peers and professors online. With Nile Online, your education fits around your life, not the other way around. Learn effectively from your home, during breaks at the office, or while on the move. Dive into a variety of programs that cater to your passion and career aspirations, from executive MBA to digital marketing. Empower your future with accessible and secure education. Nile Online is your path to success. Join Nile Online today. Shape your tomorrow.
matter what life throws at your family, no matter the condition, day or night, not yourself, man or woman, daddy, mommy, auntie, and uncle, no matter who you are.
Amino Pep Fort contains 10 essential amino acids, multivitamins, minerals enriched with zinc.
No matter who you are.
Amino Pep Fort from Seagrain Pharmaceuticals Limited protects you and your family.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Fixing Nigeria's power problems is one of many pressing needs that, when rectified, can boost productivity across board in our country. To this end, President Bola Tinubu has formally ratified and adopted a roadmap for the Nigerian electricity supply industry by approving the National Integrated Electricity Policy, which aims to unlock $122.2 billion in investment to overhaul Nigeria's power sector. At the Federal Executive Council meeting on Monday, Tinubu ratified a long-awaited National Integrated Electricity Policy, first submitted in December 2024, setting the stage for Nigeria to attract $122.2 billion in investments. The policy outlines a sweeping reform agenda for the electricity sector, aligning with national development goals and global best practices, as required by Section 33 of the Revised Electricity Act 2023. Also this week, Adebayo Adelabu, Minister of Power, said that the ministry plans to collaborate with the Nigerian Atomic Energy Commission to increase power generation and make supply more stable, effective, and reliable. Joining us on this show to discuss how this collaboration will boost power generation and stabilize the power sector and also the National Integrated Electricity Policy is Professor Naji, founder and chairman of Geometric Power Limited and a former Minister of Power in Nigeria. Good morning, Professor Naji, and thank you for joining us. Hello, Professor Naji, are you with us? Okay, we're trying to establish audio connection with Professor Naji. We'll take this short break as we do that, and then we'll be right back. Stay with us.
The Fidelity Gets Alerts in Millions promo is back and better. This time around, we're giving out a whopping 159 million naira. 10 customers stand a chance to win 1 million naira in the monthly draw. That's not all. You can also win 2 million naira, 5 million naira, and 10 million in the grand draw. To qualify, open any Fidelity savings account with 5K or fund your existing Fidelity accounts with multiples of 5K to get more tickets in the draw. Then sign up to either our mobile app, *770#, or get any of our Fidelity debit cards. Remember, the more 5K you save and transact, the more tickets you get into the draw. This promo is open to new and existing customers and runs from now till August 20, 2025.
We are Fidelity. We keep our word.
Welcome back to the morning show. We now have Professor Naji with us, founder and chairman of Geometric Power Limited and a former Minister of Power in Nigeria. Good morning, Prof, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Ruben.
Good morning. Well, Prof, you've been a special presidential advisor on power. You've been chairman of Presidential Task Force on Power. You've been Minister of Power in Nigeria, and you're chairman of Geometric Power Limited. So this is an issue that nobody needs to explain to you.
Yes.
In no way at all. But tell us.
For good or bad, yes, I've been.
Yes. Tell us, this new national integrated electricity policy that Minister Adelabu has been talking about, and what could be the advantages, the special new developments in that integrated electricity policy.
Oh my goodness, Ruben, you're asking me about government program. Well, always all the policies are intended to be good. It's about implementation. That's really the issue. First of all, for me, they can't hear me.
I can hear you, sir.
They're playing promo. Adverts.
Oh, he says he can hear me. Okay. So the growth of power in Nigeria is critical. That is because the amount of power that we have installed is not anywhere comparable to what we should have for the nation. So there must be as long as the National Integrated Power Initiative is delivering on increasing power, aggressively actually increasing power availability, then we are making progress. Also, the intention is also to improve the transmission infrastructure and also the distribution, to encourage distribution companies to perform better by investment as earlier planned during privatization. I think on those, then the policy would go somewhere.
All right. Now, still on that national integrated electricity policy, there is great emphasis on a shift towards renewable energy and an inclusion of some of that framework in order for us to achieve our energy security goals. However, there's also been news of a possibility of a banning being placed on the importing of solar panels, for example. So my question to you is, with regards to renewable energy, does the framework do you think the framework would be better supported if we're to ban the import right this moment? Or what type of trajectory do you think we need to embark on to embrace renewable energy?
Well, let me just say that the very idea of producing goods for our consumption is always good for me. I encourage that. But do we have capacity to produce the solar panels to support what we want in the nation? I am not sure that we're there yet. So probably a transition period is required. And I believe that also that solar energy or the renewable, we think that renewable energy is an immediate solution. It's not going to be the immediate solution for a while. We have abundance of natural gas. We need to capitalize on this availability by producing this gas and be able to use that to build power plants. But we are, at the same time, we should, of course, be encouraging the building of solar plants. The solar is basically, in terms of renewable, aside from, of course, the hydro, that's the most plausible in terms of renewable in Nigeria. We can't be talking about, say, wind. It's not as good here as you would find in some parts of Western Europe. So solar, I don't think that immediate banning of importation of solar panel would get us there, but perhaps it might stimulate a lot of people to invest in building of production of solar panels. So, summary: the very idea of production of products that we consume here is very much on track. That's very important, and we should encourage that. But we need to have a transition period.
Okay, Prof, good to see you again. Rufai here.
Yes, Rufai, greeting, and Bimba, greetings to you.
Good to see you. Good to see you, Prof. Real quickly, I want to ask you a couple of questions, and this was based on some of the conversations we had recently. Number one will be around getting a framework, for number one, a distributive channel for power, and probably a place where we can get also an investment pot to be able to invest in the prerequisites to be able to channel power from one part of the country to another, which is not just about one unit like you have that is doing expandable now to about 188 megawatts, but a pot that says, okay, what's the needs-based assessment of power in this area? We set up something around there, we channel power there. We also have a pot that starts to fix, that has a pot of money that fix the problems of, distribution channel, transmission of the electricity and things like that. So I want us to think through an architecture at which we can do that, both a financial architecture and a physical implementation architecture of some sort for the power sector.
Yes, thank you very much, Rufai. If you have locations where you are able to have solar can be better harvested, and we invest in that kind of location to serve the nation, that is good. If we have a location where you have natural gas and you build power plants, sometimes people think that unless you build a power plant right at the back of your yard, that you are not going to get the power. You can transmit power. But of course, the transmission infrastructure must be able to deal with it. So distribution companies need to invest in the infrastructure to be robust so that they will be able to distribute power adequately. I mean, if I use what we've done in Anambra, we came and we found 3 by 3 units of substations, 2 by 15 MVA, so totally 90 MVA. But our bag requires more than double that amount. So we had to now invest in substations. If you don't do that, then you must continue to have load shedding. So there will be, that's if you get enough power, you continue to load shed. So it's a serious issue. The distribution companies need to think through how they will solve the problem of the area they cover. Well, the distribution companies cover too much areas. You have some covering 5 states, some covering 4 states, and it is better that they have smaller discos or franchises of discos, and so that there will be investment in them to be able to uptake power. It's critical that we understand that the discos being creditworthy off-takers of power would lead to better investment in power sector. Because right now, if a disco, as the disco is not, or discos are not creditworthy, then gencos can't sell directly to discos that are not creditworthy. It's a simple economics. So if we have the gencos, if we desire for the gencos to be able to continue to build up, or for more gencos to come on stream, then the discos have to be able to pay. They have to be creditworthy enough. So financing-wise, the federal government needs to rethink what we had established earlier, which was a kind of guarantee instrument that will ensure that investors in power are able to invest in power, power generation, wherever, in whichever method, whether it is solar, whether it is natural gas, whether it is hydro, to supply to discos. So this is very important, the guarantee instrument. And I'm not sure that the state governments as sub-sovereigns have capacity to do this in terms of being able to guarantee investment in generation of power in their areas. But these are perhaps a state like Lagos might be able to do it. Maybe some groups of states might be able to achieve this. But we have to have a discussion on formula: 1, to finance; 2, to generate enough; 3, to make transmission and distribution robust. As we are now, the transmission infrastructure is simply not going to be able to carry the required power in the nation. My number, which I continue to say anywhere, is that we need at least 100,000 megawatts of power here to be available, not just merely installed, to be able to serve this country.
Okay, Prof. Well,
I don't know if I have touched on what you are asking, Rufai.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, Prof. I'm not too sure that you answered my question about integrated electricity policy, but I get your point about implementation. Nobody can argue with that. But two things. Now, you were in Lagos on, I think, sometime in April 15, thereabouts, to give a keynote speech at the Lagos State 2025 Energy Summit. But there's an issue about the rights of states or state high courts, a matter involving Aba electricity consumers that went to Isiala High Court, and Chief Mike Ahamba, SAN, arguing that state high courts do not lack jurisdiction. But the main point that was brought up is that high tariffs, that this discourse, they are bringing serious high tariffs that are punitive. I would like you to address that, as somebody who runs an integrated power company. And secondly, on May 5, you invited President Olusegun Obasanjo to the geometric power plant, where you gave a speech titled "The Nigerian Possibility." Now, what is the Nigerian possibility that we face? I recall that on that occasion, you praised President Obasanjo, you praised Governor Alex Otti, you praised Dr. Pascal Dozier,
President Tinubu,
and President Tinubu.
Okay,
yes, but apart from praising these leaders, the possibility that we are looking for as ordinary people is to have electricity, is to pay affordable tariffs. And for us to be productive, if you could just, unpack all of these issues.
Thank you very much, Ruben. I know you understand economics very, very well. So if we want to have electricity, it's a matter of if we want to have electricity, it must be paid. There's no place where electricity comes free in the world. You have to pay for electricity, but affordability, yes. That is, it must be cost reflective. So the costs of installing electricity, I think if you go around the continent, you begin to compare the price of electricity in places where the electricity is not subsidized. But when it is subsidized, that's a different thing. Then it means that the state is carrying the burden. And the state may be, in fact, the producer of electricity and is supplying to the people. But if you now compare the price of self-generation of electricity, and self-generation could be by any method, it could be by diesel, for example, which is the typical one. The cost of using diesel and the cost of industrial power, even at band A, as the regulator puts it, the cost of diesel is many times over that cost of band A. And so the issue is, do you want to take electricity reliably and be sure and have control of when you take the electricity, or do you want to self-generate? Now, the only thing that is important, what is important, and actually the people of Aba, they are requesting that we meter them so that it's not unestimated billing. We are very much, in fact, our company is going to be putting hundreds of thousands of meters this year. And I think that by the middle of next year, we should have metered most of our customers. It's important so that the customer has control over when he takes electricity and when he does not, so that there is no argument between the supplier of electricity and the consumer of electricity as to what it is. But the price must be cost reflective. And you will find that the federal government can't cope with having to get power from GenCos, and the DISCOs are not able to cope with payments. So having about 4 trillion naira debt on the head of this federal government is not good. And it comes from this non-cost reflective tariff. So unless there is somewhere where federal government can get the money to subsidize by that amount, and it will continue to increase. So yes, they went to court, but it's you can't tell somebody to sell you his product at your own price and let the person continue to lose money. Like if you buy electricity at say 200 naira and you sell the electricity at 100 naira, you can imagine what it is. It's not a business anymore. This is the sort of thing that some of the people who went to court were asking for. And I must tell you, the people who went to court are not actually most of the consumers. They are actually people who want for the company
Professor
to
Naji,
hire them.
Professor Naji,
to speak for them.
Our
Yes.
time is fast elapsing. Very, very quickly, I understand the side of the operator, which is that, we have running costs, we have operation costs, so they must be our tariff must be cost reflective. But Nigerians are also saying we can't afford it. So what happens in this scenario where the average man, what's the point of having 24-hour electricity if we don't have money to be able to pay for it? What do you think is, very briefly, What's the middle ground? What's the compromise? Because some may have said that, well, government subsidy
Well,
seems to be the compromise.
The government, the middle ground is either subsidy, okay, by government, which if government has the money to subsidize the consumers, or that the consumer regulates when the consumer will take electricity. And that comes by having the meters, the prepaid meters. That helps everybody. And the other people are asking for it. And we are doing everything. We're going to be installing every month at least 10,000 meters every month, just to aggressively ensure that we do this, maybe even up to 20,000 meters. That's very important. Let me just address what Ruben had asked about President Obasanjo's visit and the praises, so to say. I want to tell you, it's very important that we give recognition to people who have done some visionary things, because the ABBA project came as a result of the president not being then President Obasanjo, recognizing that this model is a model that can help the nation. And that is by having an embedded power plant in a distribution infrastructure. And that's what he encouraged. And so we feel that he had really thought ahead, and that it is the sort of thing that, if replicated in this country, will immediately begin to help to address the issue of power availability. For example, you can, and in fact, I would say, when we were towards the tail end of when I was in government, we had set up about 11 such areas that we wanted to develop. Of course, it didn't go forward, but imagine if you have such embedded power in industrial clusters in the nation, you would have immediate economic uplift in the nation by having that, because electricity is the engine that drives the train. And I can tell you that the industrialists are prepared to support power once this is...
Okay, Prof. Okay, Prof. Well, thank you very much, Prof.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're delighted having this conversation with you. We'll take a short break now. And when we return, we'll be talking to Ruki Onoro, convener, Delta Broadcast Media Conference. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Africa is at a crossroads. Amidst vicious global competition, Africa must forge its own path and secure a place at the table. In May 2025, Africa's business and political leaders will unite at the Africa CEO Forum Annual Summit to set the course for the continent. Join us and shape the future of Africa.
Welcome to Ogun State, a land of warriors and champions, where history is made. Ogun State welcomes the world as we host the 22nd National Sports Festival, the Gateway Games Ogun 2024. 33 sports, 36 states, and the FCT, one nation, a gathering of the finest athletes from across Nigeria.
The Gateway Games are here.
This is more than a battle for medals. It is a showcase of the undying spirit of champions. Date 16th of May 2025 to the 30th of May 2025. Venue MKO Abiola Stadium, Abeokuta, and other sports centers in Ogun State. The countdown has begun. Be a part of history. Gateway Games Ogun 2024. A celebration of sport, unity, and culture. Host His Excellency Governor Dapo Abiodun Igbega Ipinle Ogun Ajose Gbogbo wa ni.
Your journey to great rewards starts with the Save and Win Paddy Promo Season 4. Take the first step by opening a new account or growing your existing balance by 10,000 Naira or more. Step 2. Perform at least 5 transactions monthly. Step 3. Stand a chance to win. From tricycles and motorcycles to cash prizes and a grand prize of 5 million Naira. To open an account, download the Union mobile app or visit www.unionbankng.com. Terms and conditions apply. Union Bank, your simpler, smarter bank.
Niger, it's time to rise to victory because season 10 is here.
You did not come and greet. I'm coming for the crown.
Nigerian Idol needs to bang. You're actually my idol. And say yes from me. That was good. I'm here for a revenge. I'm speechless.
10 seasons of unforgettable talent.
That's the best performance I've had today.
10 seasons of breathtaking performances. And this year, we celebrate the journey like never before.
I'm actually speechless.
I love you.
You're a superstar.
This is more than a competition. It's a celebration of music, passion, and dreams. It's your voice and your victory. Don't miss the biggest season yet. Nigerian Idol Season 10.
Sponsored by Biggie for every moment.
Guy, with the rising cost of things, we need to plan our next move.
Guy, I agree with you. I mean, with the money we make, we should not be struggling with our finances now.
Maybe you both need better banking options.
What do you know about better banking options?
I recently moved my salary account to Polaris Bank, and since then, it's been a smooth ride for me. They bought over my existing loan and gave me better interest rates and repayment terms.
Are you serious?
Yes, as a Polaris salary account holder, I can get personal term loan, auto loan, mortgage, 50% salary advance, credit card, and more without going to the bank.
Really?
I've got a personal term loan already. See, here's my credit card too.
How do I make the move?
Simple. Open a Polaris salary account on Vault. Use salary account as your referral code.
My guy, I am moving my salary account now.
Get personal term loan and more with your Polaris salary account. Vault is available on Google Play Store and Apple App Store.
Salary earners.
Cannot hold a man up to a promise he made while he was naked.
In your world, where you're from, surely I would. Oh, me, coward, awakens the love of a woman, sits back and does absolutely nothing about it.
Do you have the eye of a Lebara?
Where is that eye of vision?
Do you know what Lebara is?
Oh, well, I am going to die here.
This place that nobody knows called Iluari.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Now, before we bring in our next guest, we will go live to London, where Arise correspondent Juditha De Silva joins us to discuss the election of the American Cardinal Robert Provost, now known as Pope Leo XIV. Good morning, Juditha. Welcome to the program. Habemus Papam. We're celebrating this morning, aren't we? Finally.
Indeed, it is, and it's a surprise how quickly it happened. It's a surprise who was chosen, but actually now hearing the rumblings of kind of what happened in the lead up that everyone was very secretive about, it turns out that interviewing Robert Provost, now Leo XIV's brother, he said in the first few couple of days after Pope Francis's death, he was told that his brother was in the running, was one of the top 3. When he spoke to his brother said, no, that's not true. And he pushed it away and just didn't want to hear about it. And so they left it. And there had always been discussions amongst us journalists and people like within the religious community that there could never be an American pope, because it seemed that America is such a dominant power economically and geopolitically. To give them that level of religious power as well would almost make them a monopoly socially and ideologically. So people always put the idea of an American pope to the side. But it turns out since he was like GCSE age 13, 14 in the 8th grade, he had known this was his calling, and he went to the seminary as soon as he graduated. Then he dedicated his life to service. The first time he met Pope Francis was when he was doing missionary work, where he got his training in Latin America. He was in Peru, Pope Francis was in Argentina. And, the rest, as they say, is history.
Okay, Judita, the point you raised about politics, I think we should link it to President Trump, who had published an AI-generated image and even suggested that there is a very good cardinal in New York suggesting that if he did not become the Pope, which would have been impossible anyway, that maybe an American should become. Do you think that this secretive process that is steeped in tradition, that there may have been some infiltration of America first, politics in this? Do you believe that? Or you just think that it's a red herring?
I am a conspiracy theorist to an extent, because when you look at the history of the Catholic Church all the way back to ancient Rome, there has always been a uncomfortable symbiosis between church and state. I wouldn't put it past the powers that be having conversations with whoever happens to be their archbishop or their cardinal in their different dioceses about what would be best, or to actually exert that influence on the Vatican. I don't think they can. But what I think happened is there's been reports, particularly in the publication Politico, that the cardinals voting, because so many of them were new and hadn't done a conclave before, they watched the film Conclave that we covered on Arise Play during award season just to get an idea of the process. And I encourage people to watch it, because when you look at what happens in the film and look at what has happened now, you can see a synergy in the narrative with having Robert Provost end up being the winner. And I do know that he's seen as a progressive, even the fact that he took the name Leo the 14th. When you look at Leo the 13th, one of the most famous things he did was write this seminal work called Rerum Novarum. And what it was is that he was a pope during the Industrial Revolution, and he saw that the Industrial Revolution brought on capitalism. In a reaction to capitalism, it spurned socialism and communism. And so he wrote this work about the duties of capital versus labor, and it was seen as an extremely progressive work, which is indicative that this too might be a progressive pope. But it's yet to be seen, because another thing I would say is that when the process of actually being elected, first, when you get the majority, the first thing they do is ask you, will you take the job? As soon as you say yes, you become the Supreme Pontiff. Then there's a prayer, and then you're led to the Room of Tears, a small room next to the Sistine Chapel. And there is laid out the cassock and the red mozzetta. Pope Francis did not wear the red mozzetta because he was a Franciscan who had a very stripped down mentality. He didn't live in the Apostolic Palace. He lived in the Casa Santa Marta, which has more humble residences, a bed, a chair, a desk. He dined with the nuns who serviced the Casa Santa Marta. He drove a simple car. He didn't go around in the Vatican helicopter. People said, should the new Pope come out in the cassock and the red mozzetta, it might be him dialing back to the traditions of the kind of pomp and pageantry of the papacy, which is what a lot of the conservative popes wanted, because they didn't like that humility that was being ascribed to the papal position, which shows that rather than progressive, he might be moderate, which is exactly why he might have won, because he's going to appease the conservatives and the progressive by lying somewhere in the middle. Like they say in politics, you lobby from the left or right, but you win from the center.
Okay, so you can call it a centrist pope. And it's also very symbolic because since Pope John Paul II in 1978, this is another non-Italian pope. Prior to Pope John Paul, For over 400 years, since the 1500s, it was all Italian popes until Pope John Paul II. That's also symbolic. Is it symbolic of the fact that the church is shifting? And you talked about you liking a little bit of conspiracy theory. Judita, let me play with you this morning. Forbes is reporting something really interesting. The maternal side of Pope Leo XVI can be traced back to the 1840s among the free people of color in New Orleans, according to Jared C. Honorer, a geologist with historical New Orleans collection research documentation. In fact, they say Rep. Troy Carter, who represents New Orleans, also presented a statement on Thursday highlighting Pope Leo XIV's ancestry ties to Creole and Haitian families, saying he was proud as a Black man and a proud son of New Orleans.
Okay, I love that. Okay, so first things first. Oh, this is so exciting, yay. So when you look at both of them, what Pope Francis and Pope Leo, they weren't assigned to a diocese. They were part of They were friars and orders. Francis was a Jesuit with the Society of Jesus, and Leo was with the Order of St. Augustine. All the work he's done as a missionary in Peru, and since he took orders, is he's worked very much with the underserved, with the disenfranchised, with the poor. So when you look at what you've just said about his origins, it's very in tune with the kind of way he's programmed as a man, as a human being. He gravitates to those who are disenfranchised. He gravitates to those who are in need. That is probably how he won the progressives, because they see him as a person who will speak for those who are the voiceless. And with his background, knowing that first he's an American, and of all places to come from, he comes from Chicago. If you know Chicago, you know the racial tensions and the fracture lines societally that exist in Chicago. So he is that kind of American. He worked in Latin America. We see the kind of political fractions between Latin America and America in Trump's MAGA era. He is the kind of American Pope they would want, because they probably think he's the kind of religious leader that could speak to the ego of someone like Trump. He's American, they have a connection, but he thinks with the mentality of a minority. So he could give him the ideological steering that would be a symbiosis with the church. So I do think that, like, I do play into all those conspiracies that they might have some roots in reality.
All right. Well, we continue to watch this as several reactions will be unfolding from every single side of society. But Judita, it's such a pleasure hearing from you, such professional reporting. Thank you so much for your coverage on this issue. We now go to our next guest. Now, unlocking the potential in broadcast media is endless, as individuals have found a way of telling their stories through the African lens. The Delta Broadcast Media Organization, in conjunction with the Ministry of Information, is putting together a conference to discuss a pathway to unlocking Delta State's possibilities. Well, joining us to discuss the forthcoming conference is Ruki Onoro, convener, Delta Broadcast Media Conference. Good morning, Ruki. Mr. Onoro, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you. Good morning. Good morning.
Tell us about the conference, the Delta Media Conference, what the emphasis is. Okay, telling African stories. We know about that. We tell African stories here on this channel, okay, as part of the global media system. But tell us what your conference is all about.
All right, thank you very much. First off, I want to say a very big thank you to Arise News for having me here. It's indeed a pleasure. Also, I want to say a very big thank you to my governor, Right Honorable Sheriff Aboriwari, the governor of Delta State, for his inspiring leadership. And then to my commissioner for information, Charles Sanyago. He's been very much of a huge supporter to this course. So the Delta Broadcast Media Conference is a conference of like minds. We're bringing together all broadcasters in Delta State across all major TV stations, radio stations in Delta. For the very first time, we're having everybody under the same roof to discuss issues that are very critical to the broadcast media industry. Now, these discussions definitely would drive productivity in our state, and definitely would also equip these media houses to become better in their reportage, better with content, better with creativity, better with inspiring stories, and of course, a better Delta. So that's what we're looking at. As of today, we have every media house in Delta involved in this. All radio stations or TV stations. It's never been done before, you know, having everybody on the same page because they see the need for us to have a more vibrant storytelling when it comes to Delta. And nobody can tell our stories better than us. So that's why we're doing this. And so far, so well. We have over 400 registered members who have indicated interest that, hey, I'm going to be at the Unity Hall in Government House. That's where it's holding next week, Friday. And it's just amazing how far we start. We started off, with this, just a little bit of planning here and there, and it's caught wildfire everywhere in Delta State. Everyone is looking forward to this conference.
So the emphasis is on Delta State,
yes,
not on Nigeria, not on Africa.
Well, Delta to the rest of the world, quite frankly. And we believe that we have unique stories. We believe we have talent. We believe the theme for the conference is broadcast media, the pathway to unlocking Delta's possibilities. And if we have our media houses in Delta State unlocking the possibilities that are in Delta through, like I said, I've mentioned content creation because that's big. A lot of people watch your station, for instance, and that's because you got good and great content. So it's the same thing we're trying to do in Delta State to see just how best we can have radio stations not shutting down, but hey, more are springing up, have media houses doing what they know how to do best.
And while you're on that topic, very quickly, I love that you selected broadcast media.
Yeah.
Why broadcast media? Because right now everybody else is enthralled with social media and other medium of that nature. Why are you focusing on a medium that many people are feeling is old school?
Well, to answer your question, if it were old school, you probably will be here.
Yeah.
So it's not old school, quite frankly. Mainstream media is still very much respected all around the world. You have international cable networks like Arise, for instance. We can
global standout, international.
Okay. All right.
Yes, absolutely.
All right.
Zimbai?
So it can never be old-fashioned. However, there's a marriage between new media and mainstream media, and we also in Delta want to see our media houses leverage on that. So we actually have speakers who are going to be there on the day to seeing just how best they can inspire the broadcasters who are doing the business in Delta. Just to mention some of them, we have broadcasters from DBS Warri, DBS Asaba, Rise FM, Boko FM, Crown FM, Trend FM. At our last count, we have 14 radio stations and TV stations who's going to be a part of this. So it's the next big thing in Delta State.
I'm quite biased because
you're going to be there.
I'm going to be speaking there, but I also wear two hats, So I'm part of, the second generation. Can I use the word sort of like pioneers, in the media sector?
Yeah, sure.
And if you know my work with
GFM, of course.
From about 2004 to about 2011, and that was the second era. After you had the first era when DBS started, the likes of the Ejiro Monadays of this world. You had
Samuel Fejoku of this world.
You had Fidelis Blackboard and the likes, and then our era came in where we had GFM, the first private radio station, in Delta State that I worked in, and I'm excited that it's 14 now. As at then, it was only us and Melody FM, the two radio stations in town. True. And up to when other people came to the scene. But I just want to ask, what do you envisage will be the takeout for anybody that attends?
All right. So for starters, we're putting together a conference that is having speakers who would be inspiring the attendees. And Rafai is going to be speaking. We have one of our veteran broadcaster, Samuel Fejoku.
Sammy F.
Yeah, he pretty much started the game and inspired a generation of broadcasters who are pretty much doing the same thing and leading the pack right there in Delta State. So, and we also are going to be having Oji there as well.
Yeah,
and we have Lady Iu Mukoro and Peter Nwache. So it's an array of seasoned speakers. And trust me, knowledge is power. One thing we want to do after this conference is to recalibrate, not doing the same thing the same way and pretty much hoping that a result will come out of it. So that's what we're trying to do with this conference. Imagine Rafai. I listened to Rafai when it was at JFM at the time, and he's going to be speaking to a whole lot of people who's going to be there.
This is next week Friday.
Next week,
right?
Friday, yes.
Delta State. I'm sure you'll be streaming somewhere. No?
Yes, we will. But I mean, physical attendance is very, very important.
All right. Well, they'll make a date with you for next week, Friday.
Certainly.
A lot of learning to happen
Thank
there.
you.
Thank you so much. Fantastic initiative.
Thank you.
All right. Well, it's time for a short break now. When we return, Aaron Akerijola will be here with the Global Sports Update. Do stay with us.
Are you struggling with a health challenge? Do you need financial help to access treatment?
I'm tired of trying. I need help. I want to try IVF. I know it's expensive.
Apply now for MHSS, the Maternal Health Service Support, a discounted loan by the W Initiative of Access Bank. For more information, visit our website on www.thewcommunity.com or any Access Bank branch nationwide. You can also send an email to wcares@accessbankplc.com. Terms and conditions apply.
We don't like to eat better, more nutritious meals, more veggies, but we want it tasty and easy too. No cubes, that's the secret. Made with real ingredients like chicken, parsley, and garlic, and enriched with iron, so your meals are better for you and more delicious too. That's the cocoa. Let's give it some accolades. Change your world by changing what's on your plate.
As part of our strategy to support the growth of homegrown businesses, we are pleased to announce the launch of the Fidelity SME Hub, helping businesses to grow, thrive, and prosper.
We are Fidelity. We keep our word.
Every vibration on my phone opens the door to something different. As an award-winning actress, it's a chance to share ideas and stories that resonate. Stories that reflect my journey, passion, and authentic self.
So, to deliver excellence, I go all out just for that perfect balance. Thankfully, Cosmo does it for me. The Cosmo range of skin, hair, and body care products caters to my everyday needs. With its nourishing ingredients and gentle formulations, Cosmo not only restores my natural radiance, it refreshes me for whatever comes next. Cosmo, for the love of beauty. Marketed and distributed by GVS Cosmetics.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Now for updates on sports stories across the globe, Aaron Akerijola joins us this morning. Aaron the Baron, you're a Man U fan, right?
No. He's a Man City fan.
Oh, it's Man City. Okay.
We don't play in the lower echelons.
He will take a jab.
We
win the Europa League.
But it's still a second. It's not bold because Man is not doing well. It's still a second-rated trophy. Whichever you look at it.
No, if they win, they will be in Champions League.
Yes.
2025, 2026 season.
Aaron, just tell Dr. Abati that we don't go to second-class schools. He likes Harvard first-class schools. When you say we don't go to second-class, you think
okay, let's get it started today. Since we are talking about Manchester United, let's start it off from the game yesterday. Complete blowout, 4-1. Was I actually ended at Old Trafford, although the coach could not help but just stand up and celebrate, clapping ovation, I must actually say. The players jubilating. They've had a rotten season, but salvation is just at the end of the rainbow, looking like it, if they can actually get there. They will be hoping that they can actually do this. If we're to press it further, because it stands right now that Mason Mount has actually done that for them. The finals will be beckoning later on this month against Tottenham Hotspur, who themselves dispersed their opponents quite easily to get to the final. So it's going to be an all-English final on the day, Spurs versus Manchester United, 21st of May, all right, at the San Mamés. So let's see what actually happens. Who will be lifting that trophy? We'll have to wait and see. Bruno Fernandes, some would say, has earned it. But on the day, it's not about what you've done throughout the season. It's about what happens in the space of 90 minutes or 120 minutes, as the case may be. Rufai, for Chelsea, there's also light at the end of the tunnel, maybe a reprieve. All right, getting to the finals of the Europa Conference League. Whatever you want to say, Rufai, European trophy beckons, and Chelsea and the Council do something dangerous. No one has ever won the complete European spectacle, and that is what is going to happen if Chelsea can win the finals. Because some will say this man is cooking, and let's see if Maresca can actually deliver this one. But Anthony and Real Betis might just do this, because this was his goal yesterday to help his team games. I must say kudos to him. He's handling his. Okay, if you say so, the Conference League is also one to savor on the 24th. So there are trophies for English teams at the end of the season, at the business end of the season. Okay, let's see if that would. Let's see what actually becomes of that. Quickly away from that. Now, this is a big news that is actually troubling, and that is the fact that that the Chinese embassy only yesterday released the passports of our Nigeria contingents that were supposed to go for the world relays in China. And the president of the Athletic Federation of Nigeria and the National Sports Commission are not entirely happy with this. That the Gansu region made it exceptionally difficult for them to actually see their passports get to them, because they kept on asking, what, you're delaying our passports longer than it should be. What's the reason? And they were not giving any particular reason. And they were saying that probably the world relays did not furnish them with enough information. And the world relays were asking, what information are you looking for? Let's provide you with this information. And they kept on bouncing here and there. They were supposed to depart yesterday, and they only got the passport yesterday evening. And it takes about 17 hours from Lagos to China, and it takes about 20 hours, going to 26 hours, depending on where you're flying from the US. And most of our athletes that would have attended the world relays are in the US. And we've seen this thing happen time and time again, whereby embassies, knowing that these are major competitions, these are global competitions, and these are not just nobodies, these are athletes that are recognized, they have track records. Why are you denying them access to global events? The world bodies, the world athletics will need to look into this, and other sporting bodies will need to look into this, because this cannot be happening, especially to Africa and Nigeria. Now, finally, before we actually go, just a little teaser for the weekend. Let's look at some of the richest club owners in world football. And if you actually look at the Bayern Munich, of course, it's owned by the fans because of the 50+1 rule. And when you, it's one of the richest clubs out there. Another rich club, when you look at the Fenway Group, that actually owns Liverpool and several other franchises in the US. Okay, of them. So if we move, and also pressing further, among some of the richest clubs, the most contentious owners in the UK, talking about the Glazer family, which was led by Malcolm Glazer back in the day. And of course, it's passed on to glory. Then Real Madrid, also owned by the clubs, by the club members. So not necessarily a particular individual, just like Barcelona also are not being owned by one individual. Okay, Agnelli family actually owns Juventus there. They own Fiat and there are auto giants in. Yes. So then, of course, not living out Sheikh Mansour, who owns Manchester City. Some will say Abu Dhabi Money, they're speaking, and they've questioned his investment into Manchester City, and not forgetting Barcelona, like I said, also owned by club members. And certainly these club members in Spain and in Germany have a lot of say on how the club is being run and the direction. And of course, the richest of them all, he owns 4 clubs. He might say that it is owned by the Sovereign Wealth Fund, but you and I know this. The Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia.
What about Newcastle? You didn't add Newcastle?
We didn't even add Newcastle. We didn't even add Newcastle to you. Okay, all right. Anyway, let's move away from that's all. That's just about it.
Okay, real quickly, kudos to them. So, see, the reason why I'm beefing Chelsea is that
for the money spent this season, I don't think Chelsea is extra. Forget the fact that they beat Liverpool or anything. For me, in my own eyes, they are not extra this season. So winning Conference League will not change. And that Betis team I saw has what it takes to take on Chelsea.
They are
we were saying they will have won the Trinity. Have they ever won the Super Cup?
I think yes, they have won the Super Cup.
When we used to play in Tatoto back in the days, they never win in Tatoto.
So, which except it might have been renamed to something else, but when you look at it, the Champions League, Europa League, now the Conference League, so the Super Cup has also been won.
And it also shows the sinking fortunes of Chelsea.
And I think Chelsea have won the Club World Cup also.
A team like Chelsea is now going, to go and be vying for Conference League and all of that.
Now, remember that it was not Chelsea's doing because Manchester United won the FA Cup against Manchester City. So Chelsea were demoted, not because Chelsea played poorly to get there.
No, but the truth is, if Chelsea has become first, they will not demote them. They don't demote first. Like Dr. Batu say, whether you go to an Ivy League school or you don't go to an Ivy League school. See, there's a difference between Oxford University and Oxford Brookes. Am I lying? Wow. They are both in Oxford, though. But there's a difference between Oxford University and Oxford Brookes. Me, I want Chelsea to be Oxford all the time. I don't want Oxford Brookes. Winning the Conference League is like going to Oxford Brookes. It's just like they give you admission to Oxford University, and you see admission to Oxford Brookes in the same Oxford. You now choose to go to Oxford Brookes when you can go to Oxford University. What are you saying?
Oxford is expensive.
I know, but Oxford Brookes to Oxford.
It's not the same rating.
Depends on the cash.
And they are saying they're ready to give you scholarship.
The visa issue for me is very unfortunate because I thought we would have reached a stage by now where our athletes, especially for these big tournaments, get some sort of note verbal from the Sports Commission to be able to speed up the process.
It's even not. They did
all of that.
They did all of that.
I was supposed to travel to China at the end of last year as part of a Pan-African delegation. Now, this was the strange thing for me is that we all received the same documentation required to get a Chinese visa.
Yeah.
However, when I went to the Chinese embassy here in Nigeria, what they wanted was a little bit different compared to what everybody else in the rest of Africa wanted. And they wanted specific letters written by the Chinese government, endorsing the trip and so forth. It's so unfortunate that China seems to change the rules when it comes to granting visas to Nigerians, and especially for this type of outing. This was very unfortunate and they still granted the visa. So I wish the process could have been expedited. Not putting the blame on them. We don't really know what happened, but this type of scenario shouldn't be playing out.
No, not at all.
Okay, Real Madrid is the wealthiest football club in the world in terms of revenue and valuation.
That's true.
They make like over €1 billion per annum.
Yeah, revenue.
That's the fact.
Yes.
Number two, Chelsea against Real Betis. Well, I don't know what will happen. Enzo Maresca is going to be facing his former professional dad.
Yes.
A coach under whom he has worked all the time. So it will be a professional dad and his mentee facing each other on both sides. As for Manchester United, if Manchester United wins, this will be the second time in 8 years that they have won the Europa League.
Yeah.
Tottenham Spurs, they are looking for their first European title in 41 years. However, they have defeated Manchester United 3 times
this season.
But in terms of how English clubs have done in the various competitions across Europe. Anyway, there are other things I would have loved to talk about. National Sports Festival starts in Ogun State.
We'll be there live and direct next week. Doctor, I'll need plugs on where to probably get good food.
The governor says Ogun State is ready. And Chief Odegbami has been made Grand Ambassador. We take a short break now. And when we return, Okwe will be here with details on what's trending. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
We don't like like to eat better, more nutritious meals, more veggies, but we want it tasty and easy too. Knorr cubes, that's the secret. Made with real ingredients like chicken, parsley, and garlic, and enriched with iron, so your meals are better for you and more delicious too. That's the cocoa. Let's give it some accolades. Change your world by changing what's on your plate.
Guy, with the rising cost of things, we need to plan our next move.
Guy, I agree with you. I mean, with the money we make, we should not be struggling with our finances now.
Maybe you both need better banking options.
What do you know about better banking options?
I recently moved my salary account to Polaris Bank, and since then, it's been a smooth ride for me. They bought over my existing loan and gave me better interest rates and repayment terms.
Are you serious?
Yes, as a Polaris salary account holder, I can get personal term loan, auto loan, mortgage, 50% salary advance, credit card, and more without going to the bank.
Really?
I've got a personal term loan already. See, here's my credit card too.
How do I make the move?
Simple. Open a Polaris salary account on Vault. Use salary account as your referral code.
My guy, I am moving my salary accounts now.
Get personal term loan and more with your Polaris salary account. Vault is available on Google Play Store and Apple App Store.
Salary earners. Niger, it's time to rise to victory because season 10 is here.
That you did not come and greet. I'm coming for the crown.
Nigerian Idol needs to bang. You're actually my idol and say yes from me. That was good.
I'm here for a revenge. I'm speechless.
10 seasons of unforgettable talent. That's the best performance I've had today. 10 seasons of breathtaking performances. And this year, we celebrate the journey like never before. I'm actually speechless.
I love you.
You're a superstar. This is more than a competition. It's a celebration of music, passion, and dreams. It's your voice and your victory. Don't miss the biggest season yet. Nigerian Idol Season 10.
Sponsored by Biggie for every moment.
True strength. What defines it? The brilliance of a player? Or when a team comes together to win? A solo beat? Or the rhythm of many? The flair of one dancer? Or the art of a troupe? One distinct voice, or the beauty of the symphony? At FCMB Group, we build ecosystems, empower communities, and create the future. Because we believe it's not just one, but the power of the group that delivers the future we all desire. FCMB, the power of the group.
Hear that? It's the roar of the crowd, the pulse of champions, the sound of history being made. Ogun State is ready to host the biggest sporting event of the year, the 22nd National Sports Festival, Gateway Games Ogun 2024. From May 16th to 30th, 2025, the nation's finest athletes will gather at the MKO Abiola Stadium, Abeokuta, and other sports centers in Ogun State. 33 sports, 36 states, and the FCT. One goal: to rise, to compete, to win. The world is watching. This is our moment, our time to shine. The stage is set. Gateway Games Ogun 2024, a celebration of sports, unity, and culture. Host, His Excellency Governor Dapo Abiodun. Ìgbéga ìpínlẹ̀ Ògùn, àjọṣe gbogbo wa ni.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Joining us now is OG with stories trending around the world.
Absolutely.
Thank God. It's
TGIF
Friday.
with stories trending around the world.
Day.
Yes, it is my favorite day of the week, and today is a special Friday for all of us. Well, good morning to you, our favorite Naji. And I'll tell you, because we have the biggest trending story, the biggest news, which is we have a new pope. Good morning, Rufai. How are you this morning? I mean, a lot of people are excited. Well, good morning to you, viewers. Habemus Papam. We have a new pope. Let's begin what's trending. Catholics around the world are reeling with excitement after Cardinal Robert Prevost was elected as the first US-born pontiff, taking the papal name Leo XIV to lead the world's 1.4 billion Catholics. The 69-year-old from Chicago stepped into his role as the 267th pope on the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica on Thursday evening, addressing thousands of cheering Catholics with the words, "Peace be with you all." This was such an emotional moment for me, and you know why I've been by, because I'm Catholic. I mean, that little girl crying, you could see how much, that really touched that young girl. It's beautiful to see. Congratulations to the United States as well. Meanwhile,
to Peru.
Just days before the historic election, US President Donald Trump's AI-generated image of himself dressed as the Pope drew criticism before Catholic leaders as it appeared during the official mourning period for Pope Francis, while the image, which was posted on his Truth Social account, was reposted on the White House's official X account. Can we have the image? Accompanying Trump's remark to reporters, saying, "I'd like to be Pope. That will be my #1 choice." The New York State Catholic Conference swiftly condemned the image and Trump's remark, posting on X, saying, "There's nothing clever or funny about this image, Mr. President. We just buried our beloved Pope Francis, and the cardinals are about to enter a solemn conclave to elect a new successor of St. Peter. Do not mock us." I mean, Dr. Bati, we discussed this yesterday, and the whole week we tried to take this story, and it was just, it came at the time where we were talking about the US having a first pope, and we saw that image that really drew criticism. Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump has called the election of the first American pope a great honor for the country and said he looks forward to meeting him. Let's take a look.
What greater honor could there be? We were a little bit surprised, very happy. It's just a absolutely great honor. They have already spoken to us, and we'll see what happens. But again, to have the Pope from the United States of America, that's a great honor. That's a great honor.
Sir,
watching, and they said he's from America.
Donald Trump is so special. We did want to take this story about Donald Trump talking about the Pope and actually just dismissing that AI-generated image as a joke. A quick word from you, because I know that we want to unpack a lot of the stories together, especially as in regards to the first Pope, the first U.S.
American Pope.
Pope.
Well, you know what? Donald Trump might say it's a joke, but there's some things we shouldn't joke about, because the truth of the matter is that the Catholic Church at that moment was in mourning.
Yes.
So it was tasteless. There's some jokes that are unnecessary from the head of a state. However, we've now moved on to Pope Leo XIV.
Yes.
I think we've spoken about Pope Leo the 13th extensively and his legacy. So I want to look a little bit at Pope Leo I, because Pope Leo I, his papacy was from 440 to 461, and he was famous for meeting Attila the Hun and stopping him from attacking Rome. Now, why the significance? Because people are saying that maybe some of his inspiration in choosing the name Leo will speak to the fact that he's going to be somebody who's going to speak up against political oppression and, try to ensure that there is cordial relationships and cordial diplomatic relationships between nations. However, on social media, where it's trending, there's already a little bit of backlash from the LGBTQ community who have unveiled comments he's made in the past that did not stand in favor of them and their beliefs. So it'll be interesting to see what his papacy will look like. May he have a peaceful and fruitful reign.
Meanwhile, for our viewers, I wanted to pull up this picture. Long before his election as Pope, Robert Provost visited Nigeria in 2016. A photo shared on his X account on September 29, 2016, shows him with Catholic leaders in Abuja nearly a decade ago during his time as an Augustinian leader. His visit included engagements with members of the order and the wider Catholic community. I heard you, Dr. Vati, early this morning saying, we have to take our Nigerianness in this papacy. We have to claim our Nigeria, because you said that his secretary is a Nigerian as well. Father D, really. And we've discussed this issue at length. I'd like to congratulate Catholics around the world, and of course, my very self and my family. We have a new Pope. Congratulations. Well, let's head over now to Anambra State, where President Bola Ahmed Tinubu joined the state governor, Professor Charles Chukwuma Soludo, to inaugurate the first state-of-the-art government house on Thursday, marking a historic milestone more than 30 years after the state's creation. It was the president's first visit to the state after becoming president. Tinubu applauded Soludo for laying a strong foundation in the state, adding that Anambra is on the rise and that the massive infrastructural projects align with Soludo's vision for Anambra to become the Dubai, Taiwan, and the Silicon Valley of Africa. The president also jokingly asked Soludo to get him a land in Anambra for his retirement home. Let's take a look.
I am now bona fide son of the soil. One of your sons, I say your own son, maybe my friend and your governor, Charles Soludo, should find me a plot of land for my retirement home. You don't have to move me from the villa for only 1 week. Give me permanent abode. Thank you very much.
Now our Papa be this, so we no get another one. Now our Papa be this, so that was beautiful to see. While the inauguration ceremony was filled with excitement, the president was also honored with the traditional title, Dike Simba Anambra, meaning warrior from the diaspora, by the state's traditional rulers. This honor was bestowed upon him in recognition of his contributions across the nation. Let's take a look.
Shall I go ahead?
Odike Simba Anambra Jagabanu nke Nigeria nine. Odike Simba Analudego no. Tuanie Dike Simba.
Congratulations, DK Simba. Jagaban Anambra. No, Jagaban Anambra.
AKA DK Simba.
I love it. Congratulations to Jagaban. Why not? Meanwhile, the Anambra State Governor, during the inauguration ceremony, said that the All Progressives Grand Alliance, APGA, will continue its policy of adopting a sitting president as its candidate for the upcoming 2027 elections, emphasizing that APGA is strategically and ideologically aligned with the federal government and the renewed hope agenda. Let's take a look.
I want to put on record that it is in time for all progressives. It is time for all progressives, for all the federalists, and all parties with social-democratic, centrist, and left-of-center credentials to unite, to advance the purpose of a united and progressive Nigeria. May God bless the Jagaban, bless the renewed hope agenda. May God bless Anambra State, and may God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
All right. May God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Well, here is a video showing President Tinubu and Governor Soludo dancing to Flavor's hit track, Game Changer, at the Anambra Stadium. Let's take a look. Oh. All right, go ahead. We don't have the video. We'll have the video in a second.
First, let us thank the people of Anambra. Anambra has shown that, they are very good guests. They showed a lot of hospitality towards President Tinubu. From those who were singing our Papa Bidi, so it was a very cordial, joyful reception that they had for the president. And 179 traditional rulers came together and, honored him with Dike Simba, Anambra. And then the governor also was very friendly towards him. I think the optics look very good. Anambra has done very well.
Yes.
Number two, the other issue that I want to address is the fact that the governor has built a new government house. Now, it's not only a new government house that he has built. It's an entire complex that will house the government, that will have also a government house. The governor himself pointed out that there is even a presidential lodge to which the president can relocate for 2 weeks and come and enjoy the beauty of Anambra. If you leave the government house, because I've been there, and the secretariat in front, it's a one-stop government complex. Anambra State has not had anything like that. And the current government house actually is a makeshift building that one governor after the other has been living in. This will be the first time that a governor will give that state, a government house.
Actually,
now,
a state-of-the-art government house.
No, it's fantastic.
Yes.
And then what is on the screen now? That's like, a tourist center.
Yes.
It has a clubhouse. It has this tourist location.
Yeah.
It has behind it, a small stadium to encourage people of Anambra to come home for weekends, to invest in their own home state, and to bring even their children. So what Governor Soludo is doing here is to create an enabling environment for the running of government and also, for Anambra people who are in diaspora to come home. Number three, the part of it that I'm a bit, worried about is Governor Soludo saying, we are all progressives. Alliance, All Progressives Congress, and Alliance of All Progressives Grand Alliance APGA, and that in 2027 the progressives should come together, to promote the ideology of progressivism.
Yes.
Well, it's a double-edged sword, and it's as follows. In 2003, This was how President Obasanjo and his strategists said, oh, okay, they are criticizing him. They are saying he doesn't have a strong base in his own region. And, you know, the strategists tried to talk to the governors who were from AD at that time. This was how the governors said, oh, we will support President Tinubu during presidential election. But during governorship election, vote for AD, because that's more or less what the governor is saying in Anambra. Vote for me during governorship, vote for President Tinubu during presidential election. Do you know that all the governors that followed that route in 2003 in the Southwest, they lost their positions? The only man that survived was this same Dikesimba of Igbo land. He's the only one that survived. That's why they call him the last man standing. Because during his own campaign, he told the people of Lagos, just vote for AD. All the other people who thought they could separate the two, they lost their positions. And what is the point? It's about political education. Most of the voters, most of the people who come out on election day, they will not make any difference. They will just say the governor has told us to support President Tinubu. Now our Papa be this. So they can go and just vote for APC all through. All right. So there is a lot of work ahead for Abuga in Anambra State, and also for the governor to make sure that the electorate can make that proper distinction.
All right. Well, congratulations to the people of Anambra. Before I come to you, Rufai, now let's take this video showing President Tinubu and Governor Soludo dancing to Flavor's hit track, Game Changer, at the Anambra Stadium. Rufi, you're dancing too much. Please show Rufai. Rufai has been dancing. Quick comment. This video was trending everywhere.
Because I know I have short
yes.
A couple of things. Good one on the optics and everything.
Yes.
You see, but give it to President Tinubu. I always give him his flowers. I disagree with him on many things, but I give him his flowers. He's a very deft political activist and political player and strategist. You see, what Dr. Abati cited when he said, oh, in 2023, that 2003, they drifted towards a path. Yes, that affected a lot of, you know, those governors in 2003. And some of them, they didn't just even do their homework. I remember, I can't recount the story of what really happened to people like Oshoba when Bengada and they beat him there, but that's a talk for now. That's all of this project launch. Please. It's something across every African country. I'm always scared when I see leaders building new government houses. They say there's nothing been there and all of that.
Yeah.
Because in other parts of the world, when last did you hear that America is building a new White House?
Yeah.
When last did you hear that we are doing infrastructural projects in other developed nations about a befitting presidential palace?
Right.
This idea that you must have a befitting presidential palace, I don't think is the right one. I think we should put more resource into the people.
Well said.
22 Sussex Street in Canada has been of dispute.
Right.
The building went derelict. Guess what? Nobody there touched to repair the building because they knew the people would go against them.
Yeah.
So let's focus more on doing things for the people rather than edifices for whoever is governor at any point in time.
Well said, Rufai. I mean, you're absolutely spot on. The idea of building.
In Anambra, it's like a 3-arm zone.
It's a 3-arm zone. That's what can I just
So that's the model. You know, the legislature, the judiciary, then government secretariat. The government lodge is just at the back. But where the governor of Anambra lives now, even you, Rufai, you can build it and live there. It's just a small.
Well, everyone has an opinion here, and I think that Rufai is quite correct in the terms of putting resources more on security and other more important things than productivity than edifices like this. And you are right, Dr. Abati, saying that this new state-of-the-art government house is a 3-arm government with the legislature and also the judiciary. So at the end of the day, the Anambra people win. Right?
Yeah.
Congratulations.
That's correct.
To Ndi Anambra. Well, in another development, Senate President Godswill Akpabio has urged Peter Obi, the Labour Party presidential candidate in the 2023 elections, to address internal conflicts within his party before making divisive statements about Nigeria. Akpabio spoke during the valedictory session in honor of the late Edwin Clark, criticizing Peter Obi's recent remarks, suggesting that the efforts of Nigeria's past heroes were in vain. Let's take a look.
When somebody makes a statement
that the labors of our heroes past are in vain. I beg to disagree. Let our brother Peter Obi show leadership like Edwin Clark did by resolving first the crisis in the Labour Party. For a man who wants to run Nigeria, you have one of the smallest parties in Nigeria, and you cannot even resolve the crisis in that Labour Party. Is it the crisis of Boko Haram that you will come and resolve in Nigeria? I would like us to be known for what we did when we had the opportunities. As I speak now, I can tell you about the dualized thoroughfares in my state. I can tell about the flyovers in my state. I can tell about the best international hospital in my state. I can tell about the monuments of government houses that are built, both for the governor and deputy. I'm one of the best digitalized governor's office in Nigeria. I can tell you about the best international stadium in West Africa. I can tell you about the free and compulsory education that I did for all Nigerians. I can tell you about the unity I brought in religion by sponsoring over 5,800 Muslims to the Holy Land and over 12 to 15,000 Christians to Rome and to Jerusalem. But then, those who are aspiring as presidential candidates and trying to cause division with their mouths, using the social media, tell them to resolve the small crisis in the smallest party they have in Nigeria first, before they come to talk about the larger Nigeria. But for the social media, it is unregulated. I wish you luck as you have a field day.
That was violent. Let me take this tweet. From Voice of the Oppressed, he wrote, misplaced priorities in his achievements mentioned in this video when he was governor. For example, 1, sent thousands of Muslims to Hajj and thousands of Christians to Rome and Israel for pilgrimage. The question is, what value does it add to GDP? 2, building the largest stadium in the West Africa in a country where our local league is crippled. 3, bragging of building of government houses for privileged few in this 21st century in a country where it's at brim of collapsing. Nigerians will never get it right until they stand up against all these odds and have bent to impoverish them from cradle to the grave. I mean, that was a loaded tweet as well, but yes, I think he was.
I think with due respect, whatever he has spent on the pilgrims, you know, I think he should go and get that money. I know that money is gone, but if possible, we should get them back and he could use it to fix schools and do things that are more important. You see, these leaders don't even understand the basic and the most important things, which are services to humanity, hospitals, schools, and the likes. And these are things that make a society. Awolowo's free education to today, we still talk about it. Bragging about building a stadium. Yes, okay, to attract people to play. But what about having an ancillary football team also there to be able to run out of the place?
That's it.
Then he talked about a hospital. Can you recommend that hospital for
is it the 41 billion?
I can't remember.
Hospital, yeah.
I want him,
know that
since he said he's built an hospital, and the hospital is working, you should recommend the hospital for President Tinubu for his health checks. Because if you can build such a hospital, I don't see why President Tinubu,
according to Frank Schreiber's comment,
will have health checks anywhere else. So please, you should recommend that hospital for President Tinubu. But it just shows you that the priority is always different.
All right.
And if these politicians keep talking like it's their money, it's not your money.
Yeah.
If you sell Obitu to regale you with the things he did, we'll be able to tell you the things he did with the people's money.
Yes.
So it's not, I did it.
Yes.
I did it. No. If you brought out money from your pocket, we will be able to know.
All right.
So that's just it, pure and simple. But you should recommend that hospital for President.
You should recommend that. Was Frank Schreiber. Vimbai has not spoken, and we really have very little time. A comment quickly, then we move, because I know you want to do your Enugu story.
Like to say things can be true.
Yes,
Akwa Ibom is doing well as a state. That's the honest truth. We cannot take away from that. You visit Uyo, and Uyo as the capital, and even on the fringes outside of Uyo, Akwa Ibom is, I believe in the past 6 years, the IGR has increased by over 170%. Having said that, I also think that it's not necessary to use some of these platforms to attack somebody who is not in the Senate. I understand if it was a debate happening within the Senate floor about opposition or about other things, but to bring that conversation into whatever was happening in the Senate at that moment, I think may have been misplaced. However, having said that, does the Labour Party drama need to be resolved? It does. And this is what's happening with opposition parties across Africa. We spoke about Hakainde Hichilema here earlier, the Zambian opposition who came into power, and now America is cutting aid because they are unable to regulate the theft of medicine that is being donated by the US. So opposition parties also need to get their house in order. So
Absolutely.
two things
I
can
like
be
that
true
point.
at the same time.
A quick comment, less than 20 seconds.
Mrs.
Bimbai, Mutiri Ekpenyong. That's why I had to make that.
You're calling me by my government name. Am I safe?
No, I just wanted to say, I don't expect you.
No, but mine is Cross River.
What's the difference?
Okay, go ahead.
When I went to school in Cross River, the two states were the same. But, I agree with you that, there's been a lot of transformation in the Akwa Ibom state. But one thing to say quickly, I don't think anybody should claim sponsorship of pilgrimages as an achievement. Now, we have said it again and again. That Section 10 of the Nigerian Constitution says there shall be no state religion. And that is what we have always said, that state governments have no business sponsoring anybody on pilgrimage. Religion is a personal orthodoxy. If you want to go to Israel or you want to go to Saudi Arabia, sponsor yourself. So it's not something anybody can claim as achievement. Number two, very quickly also, the Godswill Akpabio International Stadium has been very useful to Nigeria. That is a very visible achievement. It's right to claim that. Number three is about Mr. Peter Obi. Now, yesterday I said he has not committed any offense with what he said.
Yes.
Okay, he says the labor of our leaders past is now in vain and all of that. That is his personal opinion. He's saying that Nigeria is a country that have not met its potential, or that has not fulfilled the dream of the founding fathers. How is that a crime?
Yes.
Okay, so and then all this comparison and all of that, the focus should be at that plenary on Pa Edwin Clark.
Correct.
Because that was the occasion,
Correct.
Pa Edwin
Well
Clark.
said.
And then the Senate president was saying he was speaking in the voice of Pa Edwin Clark. How do we know that?
No, he said it. He said it during the presentation.
He's the AI version of Pa Edwin Clark.
How does he know that?
How do we know that?
I mean,
now, that is what Pa Edwin Clark, now blessed memory,
well,
have said. They should just leave Peter Obi alone.
This is it.
He can express himself.
Right.
He's a citizen.
Like we said yesterday, we always have to speak truth to power.
Seriously.
I'd like to just sum up some of the stories that we tried to take this week. Let's start with Enugu State, where Governor Peter Mba over the weekend participated in the maiden edition of the Enugu City International Marathon, completing the 10-kilometer road race in 45 minutes. The event, which drew athletes across Africa, is part of the state's push to position itself as a hub for sports, tourism, and investment. Well, this is a viral video. Let's take a look at the governor.
Then we would end up on the floor. We didn't care if they were watching. No time would ever stop. Cause every time you pull up on me, we know it's real.
How dare you win the
I mean, what?
How dare you win the government?
We've been somebody said that they rig everything. What was that? He pushed the governor away. I mean, come on. How can you stop the governor from passing
the line before you walk?
The guy should learn one lesson.
Yes.
You know, in Burundi, under Pierre Nkurunziza as president, who liked to play football.
Yes.
One player, Rough tackled him. They sent the guy to jail. How dare you tackle the president?
I know, but again, at the end of the day, kudos to Governor Mba for this amazing initiative, bringing money into the state. Well done, Peter Mba. Well, in Ondo State, over 100 racers and bikers from across Nigeria